Chapter 684, Epiphany. Chapter 684, Epiphany. Proofreader, Papatonks. In any soul domain battle, each domain clashed with the other for supremacy. As no domain would allow another to exist in the same space, it was either one or the other. When the domain fell, so did the soul. Yet, just now, Yang Mo used the yin-yang flames to strike at Wu Qingqiu's clarity domain. The latter did not meet with an equal force and instead took that power for himself. It was the same effect employed by the demon transformation art. Zhuo Fan recalled the bitter experience in the Lightning Canyon. Even by using the azure flame to protect himself, he still ended up with purple lightning burrowing deep inside him. To absorb this purple lightning through the demon transformation art, he had to use Chao's egg as the medium. Since it worked once, maybe it will work against Yi Lin? No matter how amazing the decimating golden flame was, there was no way it could top the purple lightning from the Lightning Canyon. He was not looking to block that power but to take it within and make it his own. Hey, isn't this the same reason I chose the cultivation method in the first place? How could I forget it? However, this was only a guess. To get some hard evidence, he needed to do some tests. The last time was a static array that launched automatic attacks while he would be facing a live human being who could change his attacks at any moment. This epiphany acted as a reminder. Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed as he watched the two fight, constantly thinking. Yin-yang flame circle. Yang Mo changed his attack. With a sign, two flaming pythons, one red and one blue, circled the clarity domain from each side. They soon turned like the ring of snakes behind Yang Mo, spinning with the clarity domain in its center. Yang Mo's sign changed again, and the burning heat soared into a huge firewall, bearing down closer on the clarity domain. One could see how the yin-yang flames were eating away at it. The sizzling, piercing flames were forcing the domain into a corner from the outside. It looked like the domain was swallowed whole by flames. Wu Qingqiu frowned and made quick gestures. The taiji symbol underneath spun faster as strong wind blades shot for the yin-yang flames, making them scatter. Yang Mo worked to stabilize the flames just then. Wu Qingqiu also worked to break through, shouting, "The great world holds everything and has everything, world harmony." Whoosh tilde. Wu Qingqiu spread his arms. The clarity domain collapsed and the walls of flames flooded in without restraint, reaching Wu Qingqiu in a blink and swallowing him whole. However, the taiji symbol beneath Wu Qingqiu began spreading within the flames, covering all of Yang Mo's domain. Yang Mo narrowed his eyes, understanding what Wu Qingqiu was after, and shouted, "Too little, too late." A hum was the only sign of what had happened. The taiji symbol started shining in black and white as it spun around. It was like a huge sea, spinning everything it contained, even the raging flames. As it neutralized them, Yang Mo hurriedly made signs to regain control of the flames, but it was just too late. His entire flame domain was already taken by the clarity domain and out of his hands. Looking at the bright sky above, Yang Mo shook his head and sighed. The circle of snakes behind him kept rotating, yet it lost the vigor it had at the start. "Brother Yang, you let me win." Wu Qingqiu grinned and cupped his hands. Yang Mo sighed and shook his head. "I still lost. Wu Qingqiu, you truly are the best talent in Western lands. Brother Yang is too kind. To be honest, I was starting to sweat when our domain clashed. I could only win against Brother Yang, thanks to luck." Faker. Yang Mo's face twitched. "You don't have to pat me on the back. I can see it myself. You still held back against me. It's because the path you follow isn't that of brute strength. You used softness to grasp victory in the last moments. Otherwise, I would have been seriously injured when my domain collapsed." Wu Qingqiu chuckled. "Brother Yang, I admire your candid nature. However, you were wrong about one thing. I have long since lost the title of the best talent in Western lands." Wu Qingqiu turned to Yi Lin, then to Zhuo Fan. "I just can't help but wonder who among the two will be it. They both walk the path of power, showing no mercy. You will be thrown back in pain and defeat if you fight them. Going easy on them will be your weakness. You saw it yourself. Your junior brother killed someone in the first strike. Zhuo Fan also obliterated souls without remorse. He even left me with a heavy wound back then. They are men of power, not someone a modest gentleman can face." Yang Mo looked at the two as he said this. Wu Qingqiu chuckled and shook his head. Unlike Yi Lin and Zhuo Fan, he was an orthodox righteous disciple, always conducting himself with courtesy. They did not have such restraints. He reckoned he wouldn't last 3 moves with them. However, He was decent and not pedantic, earning the respect of many. Even Yang Mo, his strongest adversary, respected him but Yang Mo spoke, "You will always be the best talent in Western lands to me. Those two are monsters, not humans." Yang Mo left the stage, not even waiting for the judge to announce his withdrawal. Unlike Zhao Deju's, his was different. He fought with all he had and would have staked his life if it meant winning. But he knew that not even that was enough against the opponent's domain. It was better to quit ahead. Watching Yang Mo go, Wu Qingqiu nodded, "He's anything but nice, having defiled and committed crimes, but he is a man, after all." The judge also watched him go with a nod, then proclaimed it Ultimate Clarity Sects win. The next matches between Ultimate Clarity Sect and Hellion Flame continued. Maybe it was because of the friendliness the two captains showed in their fight, or today was filled with bizarre occurrences since the matches were fought with all their power but were akin to sparring rather than death battles. Ultimate Clarity Sect's disciples' character was mild, that was certain, but even when the Hellion Flame's disciples won, they did not finish them off. They not only showed respect but were even lenient, and so, the singles round ended without a single casualty, despite some sporting heavy wounds. As for the two sects, they had no feud with each other. In fact, they joined efforts in mocking the Universal Righteous Sect. Zhao Deju's team felt like wailing about the injustice. "What's wrong with our sect? Haven't we given up without a fight? Why are you looking at us like that? For God's sake, we're innocent here." Next were the three sects' team battles. This would be glorious, a fight that would include the best sects in Western lands. But since a freak like Yi Lin was among them, the gap was huge. In the Ultimate Clarity Sect against Hellion Flame, Wu Qingqiu kept Yang Mo busy while Yi Lin dealt with the other 9 easily. Yang Mo saw this and admitted defeat as if to copy Zhou Fan's challenge when he fought 10 by himself. Yi Lin issued the same proposal. He wanted to finish off Hellion Flame by himself, but Wu Qingqiu refused him. He wasn't afraid Yi Lin would end up doing something wrong, but Yang Mo's self-respect would be crushed. So that was how it turned to 2 versus 10. Wu Qingqiu kept him busy while Yi Lin dealt with the rest. Yang Mo was also aware of this, though not in the least pleased. He knew Yi Lin was just as scary as Zhou Fan, if not more. He had no way to defeat the guy, so he could only bottle it in. As for Universal Righteous Sect's attitude, it did not fail to be within the people's expectations, still trying to save their strength. When fighting the Ultimate Clarity Sect, they gave up after several exchanges while showing their kind side. This only worked to enrage Wu Qingqiu. He would have beaten the hell out of Zhao Deju by now if not for his gentle character. The same couldn't be said for Yi Lin. "Our sect isn't here to play along. Fight if you want to. If not, get the hell out of here. If you start playing around, I'll kill you." Before Zhao Deju could even speak, Yi Lin shot 3 golden flames into 3 disciples, killing them on the spot. Zhao Deju was feeling pure regret right now. Those 3 were among the best on his team. But he had no choice since he feared Yi Lin and Ultimate Clarity Sect's power. In the next fight with Hellion Flame, Universal Righteous Sect just quit before they started. Ultimate Clarity Sect had Yi Lin, who took 3 of his best men, and now he had Hellion Flame, who was itching to tear into them. Zhao Deju feared he wouldn't even have the time to announce his surrender. This was how the Superior 3 Sect stage came to a close in a single day. Ultimate Clarity Sect and Hellion Flame fought hard, ending with both sides bruised and weary, while Universal Righteous Sect kept most of their strength based on tricks alone. Their targets were the upstarts, Demon Scheming Sect, and Sword God Sect. Chapter 685, Danqing Shen's Request. Chapter 685, Danqing Shen's Request. Proofreader, Papatonks. The Superior 3 Sect stage had ended with Ultimate Clarity Sect coming first, Hellion Flame second, and Universal Righteous Sect third. The Superior 3 Sect's challenge stage will take place 3 days from now. That is all for today. The judge looked around the arena and waved the people away before he left. The 2 gatekeepers closed the dimension door as well. The people were in high spirits as they chatted over today's fights on their way back to their lodgings. From time to time, eyes darted at Demon Scheming Sect and Sword God Sect's teams, excited for what was about to come. They wanted to see if these underdogs had the gall to challenge the Superior 3 Sects. Might watching from above, Zhou Fan's face was heavy. His eyes remained on Ultimate Clarity Sect's Yi Lin. Yi Lin felt the gaze and looked up with a smile as he worded something. "See you in 3 days." Then he followed Ultimate Clarity Sect's team out, taking a deep breath. Shuofan pondered. For demon scheming sect to have reached such a rank, it was already a huge success, and there was no real need to keep challenging. Yi Lin was a freak of nature as well, having the sacred beast decimating dragon ancestor. With him around, of course, Yi Lin's alchemy and arrays were no less than Shuofan's. He'd be a freak even in the sacred domain. Not even Shuofan was confident he could win against this freak. The best choice right now was just not to fight, however. For some odd reason, the sacred beast powers inside of them echoed. His heart even thumped at the prospects of a fight. He had to do it. Fleeing now would fill him with nothing but regret. As men who inherited the power of sacred beasts, they had to find out who was the one on top. Squinting, Shuofan's eyes flashed with battle spirit, so excited his blood was boiling. It was just as when two beasts met. As if fate itself made them rivals. Oh, does brother Zhuo feel fear? Shuofan was startled by the voice. Turning to see Wen Dao standing behind him, Shuofan raised an eyebrow. Where do I look scared to you? Ah. Wen Dao gave him another look and smiled. Sorry, I just saw brother Zhuo shaking and thought you feared Ultimate Clarity Sect's little monster. Now I see that brother Zhuo doesn't feel fear but excitement. Ha ha ha, that's great. Regardless of the outcome, just going all out against a real expert is a man's fortune. It will be of great help in understanding one's path. Unlike us, I fear we would have to stop the fighting here. Such a shame. Shuofan looked at him oddly and frowned. Your middle three sects head. In singles. You already know why. While you went easy that time, our souls are seriously injured. Even with some miracle pills, we'll still need more than a year to heal. When Dao shook his head with a bitter smile, still somewhat dissatisfied at the result. Shuofan knew they wanted to challenge the superior three sects too, but they had given their all in the middle three sects challenge stage and came up heavily wounded. They had nothing to offer against the superior three sects. Seeing their great power, they were ready to challenge the superior three sects. But before they could, they knew they had to withdraw, thus the disappointment. Even so, they did not shirk from going all out in the middle three sects challenge stage. Their target and principles clashed, and to hold true to their sword was admirable. Shuofan sighed. It's a real shame for Sword God sect. Ha ha ha, there's nothing bad about it since we have lost in a straightforward fight. We accept the defeat and know that we aren't strong enough. Wen Dao laughed, then looked Shuofan in the eye. Brother Zhuo, no one has ever climbed to a superior three sect position in thousands of years. We can no longer shake them. Now it's up to you guys. Ha ha ha, I only came by to encourage you and not falter despite that Yi Lin's power. By stepping down, you will only make it much harder to reach your goal in the future. Cultivators, on these lands where they pursue Dao, every step must be taken without falter. Shuofan smiled and nodded earnestly. Thank you for the words of wisdom. I'm sure brother Zhuo knows these better than me. I just came for a chat, ha ha ha. Maybe there was no need for it. Wen Dao waved and left with a smile. Seeing the mannered figure walk away, Shuofan smiled. He knew that Yi Lin challenged Shuofan and came to encourage him. While unnecessary, Shuofan was still feeling good from it. Though he didn't have much faith in his success either. Whoosh tilde. Just then, a black figure flashed in front of him and was taken away without even being able to mount any resistance. When he got ground under his feet again, he found himself facing the best in Western lands, Dan Qingshun. Only this time, he had a seriously dark and enraged look. Shuofan's heart froze, and sweat poured from his scalp. What the hell? There's no way he found out I was the one who took the sacred weapon. He can't be here for that. Feeling so utterly helpless against Dan Qingshun, Shuofan's heart was filled with unease. Killing him would be like killing a chicken. A snap was all it took. Shuofan was becoming anxious, though he managed to keep a straight face as he asked, Senior, how come it's you again? Why did you capture me this time? Looking around, he found himself surrounded by trees and grass, so peaceful and quiet, so perfect for committing murder and theft. Shuofan grew tenser as he gave a forced smile. Senior, why would you suddenly take me away? Did I offend Senior in any way? No, it's those two coots sealing up the realm. Slapping his leg, Dan Qingshun was pissed but ultimately just shook his head. Shuofan's eyes lit up, and he eased a breath, regaining his cool, safe. Shuofan probed with the utmost caution. Senior, just what happened? What realm got sealed? It's the one with the sacred mine. Dan Qingshan shook his head. In each double dragon gathering, the team battles are held in the same realm the sacred mine is being kept. It's because of the thick spiritual energy helping disciples recover their strength and go all out. However, to be safe, if the sacred mine was in danger, the two could move it at once. So there are two ways to the mine. The first is through that battlefield, and the second is at the two Exalted's heaven-reaching pavilion. I plan to sneak in through the heaven-reaching pavilion while the two focused on the sect's fights, then take the Atlas sword. It just never occurred to me heaven-reaching pavilion's path was sealed as well. This makes it so that my only way of getting in is through the battlefield. But with so many people, I would be instantly found out by the Exalted. This will make retrieving Atlas sword impossible. Seeing him sigh, Zhuofan understood his plight and grew more relaxed, so this guy couldn't even get in. It has nothing to do with me. Zhuofan hid a crafty smile as he asked, Senior, then you should find a way to get in, not come to me. I did not say anything to anyone about you. And with me being so glorious in my display, overshadowing the sun and stars, everyone will be waiting for me to shine brighter 3 days from now. Doing anything to me will get them alarmed. Fine. I get it, so stop laying it so thick. I've not come for you. Zhuofan's bragging was far from finished, but Dan Qingshan cut him off. Boy, the realm would be open for the duration of the double dragon gathering. Once it passes, the two Coots will seal it back up. They are the only ones who could lift the seal then, preventing anyone from entering. I have to act fast. So I thought of you. You will be taking me inside in front of everyone's eyes. Me? Zhuofan started and shook his head. No way, nope. How am I supposed to take you? With your age, you look nothing like our disciples. Even if you change your looks with a pill, you still won't be able to hide that old, decrepit and foul aura. For God's sake. You're the foul one. Dan Qingshan snapped back, then said, I already thought about that, and it's impossible. The two Coots' eyes are sharp. With just a change in looks, it's impossible to fool them. They can tell who you are by your aura. That's why I want to get in there through your storage ring. Chapter 686, See the Light. Chapter 686, See the Light. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? Startled, Zhuofan waved his frantic hands in refusal, out of the question. No. My ring can only hold items and nothing living. They could still find out even if you give me a living storage ring. Why would I suddenly change my storage ring anyway? There are so many things that can go wrong. Zhuofan shook his head non-stop, wanting nothing to do with this crazy plan. I gave this old Coot a map already. And since it's an item, even if the Double Dragon Manor gets their hands on it, it will not get to me. Unless Dan Qingshan runs his mouth. But the best in Western lands was that easy to catch. Please. So Zhuofan helped him without worry and got him off his back since he was holding the same prized possession now though, this was entirely different. Once the Double Dragon Manor discovers this, he will lose everything. It made no sense to risk it for nothing at all, so Zhuofan did all he could to get this old Coot as far away as possible. The best would be if they never talked again. Humph. Boy, as a team leader, even if coming from a lower 3 sect, who'd believe you have such a puny storage ring? What do you take me for, a 3-year-old? No one would believe you. Dan Qingshan saw through his plan in a heartbeat. Are you aiming to get away? Too late for that now. Zhuofan sighed. Senior, you don't know this, but I am but a simple laborer back in the sect. That Hui Xiong from Beast Taming sect was right. He fought all our elites, and with no better choice, we, from the labor office, had to step in. We're all laborious, so there's nothing we can achieve. A mere gang of laborious wiped the floor with the middle 3 sects and lower 3 sects elites. Try announcing it to the world. See how the other disciples will react. Dan Qingshan's face turned sinister. Boy, you're already in cahoots with me. So you have no choice but to help me either way. When I get the sacred sword and leave, I won't involve you anymore. But if you don't want to help me, when I get the sword, I'll tell everyone who gave me that map, even thank you for it. Ha ha ha. Dan Qingshan's smile was pure evil. Zhuofan's face twitched, and he sighed before nodding. It seems I don't have much of a choice. I really am stuck with you. Ha ha ha, that's better. There's no way my gift was for nothing. Dan Shen laughed. Zhuo Fan frowned. Senior, if I do take you, how will you get out? This time, the opponent isn't easy and won't have the time to mind other things or play with them. Then there are monitoring arrays all over the place. Once you appear, you'll be exposed. Hehe, not to worry. Thanks to your words last time, I have found a way. We'll make a diversion. You fight tooth and nail in the battles and, amidst the chaos, use the first chance you get to throw the ring in a monitoring array's blind spot. Then you just lure them away. Once you get everyone's attention, I'll just slip away and go for the sacred mine. Out of sight, out of mind. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, and he nodded. Wasn't that the same move he used? Then again, since it worked once, it should work again. Although, Zhuo Fan's eyes roamed around in thought, putting on a heavy look. Just that, senior, you should know that I defeated Yang Mo once. The 9 sect's disciples are easy to deal with, except one. You mean Yi Lin? Dan Shen had already guessed what he tried to say. Zhuo Fan nodded. Senior, Yi Lin is beyond anything I was expecting and even makes me feel like I fall short. If I throw the ring too soon, the Exalted will surely find it odd. Only when I fight Yi Lin will it look like an accident when I throw it. Making excuses again, boy? You sure are crafty. Dan Shen's eyes lit up. In fact, he already knew that in the Double Dragon manner, anyone's actions were under the Exalted Double Dragon's scrutiny. Though he also knew that a simple ring throw might raise suspicions, it was not enough to halt the match and investigate. They weren't that paranoid. Only when the Atlas sword is taken away would they look into it. However, Dan Shen would be miles away at that time, leaving Zhuo Fan high and dry from the start. Dan Shen only thought of how to leave with the sword and nothing else, not even what happened to Zhuo Fan afterward. If he didn't, that didn't mean Zhuo Fan couldn't as well. What struck Dan Shen as shocking was how this boy already came up with a plan in this short time. The both of them knew each had their designs, yet neither one spoke. Dan Shen felt a little guilty being found out. He wanted to cast him off once he was done with him. Maybe because he wanted to make up for this shame or just to ease this sharp devil's worry, Dan Shen began to analyze his opponent. Yi Lin is no less strong than you. But he had yet to show all he had, and I can't make a correct assessment of his power. Whether or not you fight him, you must be very weary of that golden flame. It is truly strange. I already have a way to deal with that golden flame. The only problem is that I don't know his soul form. Zhuo Fan turned heavy. I assume his soul has to be a heaven dragon soul as well. But how are 2 heaven dragon souls going to fight? I'm not sure about this matter and wish to ask Senior to share your experience in fighting with heaven dragon soul. What? He has a heaven dragon soul? How do you know? Dan Shen's heart shook. He never imagined Western lands would be so rich in talent to have another heaven dragon soul. Zhuo Fan gave a firm nod. The grand decimating dragon ancestor can't give his inheritor the heaven dragon soul? Since the guy was on his side, the least he could do was give him the same soul, right? Even if Zhuo Fan hadn't seen his soul, he was more or less sure based on the guy's inheritance, but his heart only became heavier because of it. Who would know a heaven dragon soul better than a dragon ancestor? When the 2 heaven dragon souls fought, the punk would get the upper hand against him, who had no teacher. That would lead to being at a disadvantage in soul and body powers. That would mean he would lose for sure. Looking Dan Shen in the eye, Zhuo Fan's entire hope for winning rested on this senior's experience. While still lacking compared to dragon ancestors, at least it was better than nothing. Senior, the master of this guy is incredible, understanding heaven dragon soul as well. Because of it, the guy has to have a complete grasp of the heaven dragon soul. I hope Senior might give me so advice, at least to tie. If not, then I would easily be pushed back and soon defeated. I won't have the time to throw the ring, and Sir's plan will fail. Fine, now stop trying to blackmail me. I get what you're saying. Since you're going through such dangers for me, I will give my all to help you. Dan Shen pondered. Zhuo Fan, do you know swordsmanship? Zhuo Fan muttered something, then shook his head, just a little. Of Sacred Domain's 8 emperors, only Sword Emperor was obsessed with this for ages. While he, the demonic emperor, was known for his cunning and body strength. He knew very little about Sword Emperor that will make my help even less useful. Dan Shen sighed. You know that my first soul is a sword, having been immersed with the sword for so many years. Only later did I form Heaven Dragon's soul and unite them to form the dragon-cleaving art. The sword's appearance trembled the world, making azure dragon howl and the seas froth. If you knew swordsmanship, I would have guided you through this art to use Heaven Dragon's soul with it. You'd surely be unstoppable, even against that golden flame. A real shame. Zhuo Fan's face twitched, and he sighed. Senior, I mean no disrespect, but that master's understanding of Heaven Dragon's soul is far better than yours. Sir has dragon-cleaving art, so does that mean he doesn't have some other mystical art as well? I fear there might not be anyone better at using Heaven Dragon's soul than him. I just want to know is how to use the Heaven Dragon's soul to fight another Heaven Dragon soul. Heaven Dragon's soul is the strongest sword. Defeating it isn't impossible though. But that would mean your strength needs to be everything. Dan Qingshun turned serious as he said, Heaven Dragon's soul is strong but only as strong as the user. Otherwise, we would have the whole world under our heel with so many Heaven Dragon souls in the Western lands. Alas, the strongest land on this continent is the central area. So while a soul is of amazing help for an ethereal stage cultivator, it is just a tool. What matters, in the end, is one's cultivation. Also, you are wrong about something. One's domain limits his understanding of the Heaven Dragon soul. My domain is within the sword, so when the sword combined with the dragon soul, they formed the dragon-cleaving art. You might say that his master is much better at using the Heaven Dragon soul, but his domain limits that. He might not have the same understanding I have of a sword combined with the dragon soul. Everything is about perspective. Different people holding the same item would reach different conclusions and uses. No one is better in this. Zhuo Fan, I know you are wise, filled with plenty of ingenious moves. If you can just combine all that power of yours with the dragon soul, then it might not be as inferior as that senior's understanding of the dragon soul. Zhuo Fan shook and stood dumbfounded, having seen the light. Chapter 687, Desire to Win. Chapter 687, Desire to Win. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan had been standing there for a long time before his eyes finally shined. He gasped, I see it now, senior. Yi Lin might have the purest Heaven Dragon soul, while mine is the most jumbled up. He has the most orthodox soul, and I have a second-rate one. But my second-rate dragon soul does not mean it's weaker than the real deal. It might be even stronger, right? Ah. Dan Qingshun shook his head. Your words are right, but can't you choose your words better? You make it sound like since you have a second-rate dragon soul, that makes mine, which is meshed up with a sword, sound ugly. In any case, this is called evolution. Zhuo Fan nodded, his heart understanding, that's right. In this world, there might not be anyone who understood the power of dragon souls like decimating dragon ancestor. He taught Yi Lin, so he knew the strongest way to use a dragon soul, but that use was limited to the dragons, and it's not dragons who are the strongest, but human. So while the ancient times had the 5 great sacred beasts, it also had the 10 great emperors. These emperors all comprehended the Tao, working their way from weakness to strength in overlooking the masses. They did not rely on talents or gifts but on their insights to create arts and cultivation methods to make humanity strong. They used constant adaptations to overcome the natural talents of the 5 great sacred beasts. In other words, the fact that the dragon ancestor knew how to use the dragon soul was nothing much. Zhuo Fan could also create an even better way of using it. This meant the changes that one goes through as he comprehended the Tao. Zhuo Fan's confusion cleared up in an instant. His eyes were filled with confidence. Yi Lin had the dragon race's rightful inheritance, but so what? He had all kinds of powers mixed into this dragon soul, and he would use them all to create an even better one, stronger than the rightful inheritance. This thought filled Zhuo Fan with battle spirit. He could not wait to fight that guy. Cupping his hands, Zhuo Fan spoke with the utmost respect. Thank you, senior, for waking me. Now I know how to fight. Ha ha ha, I haven't done much to help you. It's your realizations that did so. I hope that in 3 days, you will create an extraordinary move, refine your Heaven Dragon soul, and make that boy see the truth, that your demonic dragon will be much stronger than his orthodox one. Ha ha ha, Dan Qingshun laughed. Looking at Zhuo Fan like he was his disciple, Dan Qingshun pointed at Zhuo Fan's ring. Although I didn't help you, I will take it since you accepted my favor. So will you help this old man? Ha ha ha, of course. Going into danger for Senior is all worth it. After you, Senior. Zhuo Fan waved and opened his ring. Dan Qingshan laughed and slipped right in next, was waiting for Zhuo Fan to enter that realm again and look for a chance to slip out 2 hours later. In the dusk's fading glow, Zhuo Fan returned to the demon scheming sect's lodgings. His mind was filled with thoughts on how to adapt the Heaven Dragon soul in these 3 days. However, he was met with familiar faces just as he entered the courtyard. Chu Qingcheng, Yongning, Shuang'er, and even the girls from Mystical Heaven sect were here. Startled, Zhuo Fan felt suspicious. What are these broads up to now? Fiend Yang saw him arrive and ran over. Just where did you run off to? We haven't seen you since the Superior 3 sect stage was over. I thought something happened to you. Whatever could happen. I'm more curious about what you all are up to. Zhuo Fan eyed them all. Fiend Yang shrugged. You're usually fine, but isn't there another freakish guy out there? I feared you two freaks would blow up with your nasty tempers, fighting God knew where. These girls were worried as well. I must say, you sure are a ladies' man. Hey, you came to Double Dragon gathering and coming out, you have a whole entourage of women. Venerable, please be more serious. We are only coming along with Qing Cheng. Shui Ruohua flushed red at his words and glared at him. Shrugging, Fiend Yang just smiled. Chu Qingcheng was the picture of tranquility throughout the teasing, with a faint smile on her face. Yi Lin isn't normal and might be even stronger than you. Are you still going to fight him? Of course, that's all the more reason I must fight. Zhuo Fan let out a breath as he looked at Chu Qingcheng. Do you believe I can win? Chu Qingcheng gave him a deep look and smiled. Of course. Truly. Not even I believe I can. Zhuo Fan looked at her oddly. To be honest, I'm not in the least confident in this fight. I'll definitely lose. Chu Qingcheng giggled. What's this? The great steward Zhuo lacking confidence for once. Zhuo Fan recalled Yi Lin's terrible golden flame and orthodox Heaven Dragon soul. Then he thought of how to beat him and whether it would work, and his face became serious. Do you really want to fight? From the bottom of your heart, Chu Qingcheng asked. Zhuo Fan gave a firm nod. Even when it is so hopeless, I must overcome this obstacle. I have to fight. This is fate. Then you will win. Chu Qingcheng beamed. Zhuo Fan started and didn't know how to answer. Chu Qingcheng turned to the rest. Let's go. He needs time to get ready. We better not disturb him. Chu Qingcheng did not look at Zhuo Fan again, leisurely leaving. The girls looked baffled. Leaving just like that? You barely talked. Meeting after so long. You should be closer than ever. Yongning and Shuang'er were even more stunned. They had come with Chu Qingcheng to learn from her how to get closer to Zhuo Fan, but from what they saw, there was not an ounce of friendliness in their chat. Zhuo Fan just stood there as well, watching Chu Qingcheng go. He didn't say anything to stop her or go after her, as if the two were purely platonic, everyone doing whatever. Yongning rushed after her. Sister Qingcheng, is that all you came here to ask? Only if he will fight. Just how close are the two of you? There's nothing going on. Chu Qingcheng smiled. I just wanted to know what he wanted to do so I could support him. Nothing else matters. The girls exchanged glances, feeling baffled. How is it not important? The least you can do is give him some words of encouragement. Let him know your feelings. Only Yun Shuang remained thoughtful. Then she said, Sister Qingcheng, since not even Steward Zhuo is confident of winning, why are you so sure he will win? Isn't it obvious? Since he is earnest in fighting, he will win. Even if he doesn't believe it himself, I believe without a shred of doubt. Because whatever he really wants to do, I trust that he will succeed. Chu Qingcheng smiled as she said. The girls found it somewhat understandable. Qingcheng is Zhuo Fan's greatest support, always believing in him. Maybe this is the best kind of encouragement. They might not speak, but their intentions are clear. This is mutual understanding. The two might not admit it, but the girls could see that it was another kind of love, simply at the range of soulmates. Back with Zhuo Fan, the girls had now left, and he was just standing there confused. This girl is so good at reading people, it makes me vexed. She's always so perfect in her actions, even understanding me more than I do myself. Zhuo Fan, she said you're getting ready for the fight. Is that true? You've fought so many times in the double dragon manner so far, yet not once have you made any preparations. When it came to fighting, you shirked it off, not wanting to. This time, winning will be very hard for us. So are you getting ready? Are you really going to fight that freak, Yilin? Fiend Yang looked him in the eye and sighed, leaving others aside. I can see he isn't normal. I advise you not to fight Ultimate Clarity Sect and end up wasting men for nothing. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, and he shook his head. No, I didn't fight before because I didn't feel like it. Those guys were just too weak. But this time, I must fight with my life on the line. If I fall back now, it'll be just like when Dao said. My success in the future will fall short, if not stop completely. A cultivator has to sometimes face obstacles head-on, to the death. Zhuo Fan laughed and entered his room, closing the door behind him. Tell everyone I'll be in seclusion for 3 days. I vow to defeat Yilin. Fiend Yang's heart shook. Looking at where Chu Qingcheng was going and chuckled, these two sure understand each other. He just said he wasn't confident, and now he's pumped to try. Like the girl said, Zhuo Fan does not believe it, but his heart wants to win all the same. In that case, all of Demon Scheming Sect's elites will brave the dangers with him. They would not hesitate to go in even if it came to their deaths at the hands of that monster. Fiend Yang shouted, filled with zeal himself. Chapter 688, Breakthrough. Chapter 688, Breakthrough. Proofreader, Papatonks. As of right now, I have 3 powers that I can use against the decimating Golden Flame, Azure Flame, Purple Lightning, and Chilean Arm. Zhuo Fan sat cross-legged in his room, carefully pondering his strength and his enemies. These 3 powers were on the same grade as the Golden Flame, while only their level differed. Purple Lightning was divided into 12 heavens, while the current him could unleash the 5th heaven at best. From what he saw of the Golden Flame and its degree of power, he needed the Purple Lightning to be at the 6th heaven at the least. As for Azure Flame and Chilean Arm, he hadn't even begun developing them. The 2 sides' advantages and disadvantages were laid before him. Yilin won in quality, while he won in quantity. In other words, he was a mess. He had so many tricks on him, yet none that could measure up to that guy. Adding to that Heaven Dragon Soul, something the guy was adept at using compared to him, made it so all his trump cards were useless. Not even dumb luck could give me a win at this point. This analysis only showed his downsides, while he did have something going for him. It was something Yilin had no way of having. Yilin's methods were too specialized, all coming from the dragon ancestor. My methods are all random and flexible, not something every expert can handle, but with how resourceful they are, most fights are won. Mixing all these random skills will unleash a most unstoppable and unpredictable skill. Zhuo Fan sighed. He and the master he never saw, 9 Serenities Emperor, were very similar. The 9 Serenities secret records contained others' ultimate skills, with none of them coming from 9 Serenities Emperor himself. His sole creation was demon transformation art, which he never got to train with. Even so, he was an expert in stealing others' skills, becoming one of the 3 strongest emperors. Wasn't this the same situation he was in? A jack of all trades, however, following in his master's footsteps, he believed that combining all these ultimate skills would be more than enough to face Yilin's orthodox dragon soul. Even a mixed bag like us can stand tall. Wait, aren't I going too far with this? Though I've never received orthodox teachings in all my lives, that doesn't mean I should go about calling myself a mixed bag. There's no self-respect in it. Smiley face. The word here has a variety of meanings like mixed breed, bastard, half-breed, sob. Face twitching, Zhuo Fan immediately abolished the thought of being a mixed bag of tricks. He calmed down and directed his senses inward to combine all he knew in Zhuo Fan's mind. The huge dragon had its eyes closed, as a rainbow of colors washed over its scales. But then the light began to fade as a mote of azure fire appeared on the dragon's forehead. Moments later, a purple flash streaked its body. Crackling next came several red glows over the dragon's body. Sometimes, there was even something black crawling all over it, soon engulfing it. In this way, Zhuo Fan explored how to use his Heaven Dragon Soul best. At the same time, Yilin was also cross-legged in the Ultimate Clarity Sect's courtyard. As the heat gathering around him grew stronger and stronger in his mind, a golden sea of fire was traversed by a huge dragon with fiery and savage eyes. Humph, a dragon is a most savage creature, hard and strong. No one in the world knows more about them than Master. A heaven dragon soul is not a match to my decimating golden flame to unleash its full potential. Zhuo Fan, your heaven dragon soul, can only show around 20% of its power. You'll see I'm right. With an evil grin, Yi Lin muttered to himself, filled with confidence. He could practically see himself winning this fight outside. Wu Qingqiu passed by his door and shook his head as he looked at the shut door. Next to him was another Ultimate Clarity Sect disciple filled with curiosity. Junior brother is always laid back. Why does he go for seclusion all of a sudden? Has the world gone crazy? Ha ha ha, that's what happens when he meets his fated adversary. I'd be the same if I were him. Wu Qingqiu chuckled and said, let's go and not disturb him. 3 days later, the battle will be more important than us. If we annoy him, he will be so pissed he'll take it out on you. The other guy was taken aback and rushed after Wu Qingqiu, thinking of Yi Lin's terrible power. If we do disturb him, why would he take it out on me? Why else? I am his senior brother and also his friend. Ha ha ha, Wu Qingqiu laughed like it was natural. Then the disciple shook his head with a bitter smile. This little monster only cares about his senior brother. Meanwhile, in the Universal Righteous Sect, Zhao Dezhu was getting ready for the challenge stage 3 days from now. Juniors, 3 days from now, Sword God Sect's strongest 10 members have taken heavy soul damage. They are of no threat. The crux is Demon Scheming Sect, Zhuo Fan in particular. Everything will be in our grasp if we defeat this monster, but senior brother, he has the Heaven Dragon soul as the exalted do. Does senior brother have a marvelous plan to thwart this headache? One disciple complained. Zhao Dezhu frowned and suddenly said, relax, I already have a plan in mind. The Heaven Dragon soul is amazing, but just a beast soul. Even if he is freakish, he is all alone, and we can capture it. I plan on using the soul chain array to lock it in place. The soul chain array? Everyone cried out in shock, looking around at each other with difficulty. One disciple was nervous. Senior brother, the soul chain array can restrain monsters, but it will put our lives at risk, using our souls as chains. One wrong move and he will break out of the array, destroying our souls in the process. This is not a fight to the death. We can't. Coward. However, Zhao Dezhu glared and cursed the speaker. Humph, have you all forgotten who we are? We are Universal Righteous Sect's disciples. At a time when the Ultimate Clarity Sect and other righteous sects do not abide by justice and are in cahoots with the demon, we alone value righteousness. It falls unto us alone to keep it. If we don't stop Demon Scheming Sect right here, something unimaginably disastrous will happen. Western Lands' superior 3 sects will have 2 belonging to demons. Heavens above, this is the demons' plan to subjugate the Western Lands. How could we let that happen? Zhao Dezhu spoke with fervor and zeal, reprimanding the disciples with righteous fury. The disciple who spoke hung his head, but even if we risk our lives, can we block him still? Yes. Haven't I told you evil can never win over good? As long as I, Zhao Dezhu, am standing, we will grasp victory. Flaying his fists around, Zhao Dezhu's straight face inspired the confidence of victory as if his attitude was infectious. The other disciples raised their fists and shouted, righteousness we shall prevail. Good will win. The thundering roar grew louder as it filled them with a passionate thirst for battle. Like this, every sect made their preparation for the last stage. Some to keep their status, some to take others' status, and some just for the thrill of battle. Creak tilde. 3 days later, Zhuo Fan came out of his room before the solemn faces of his team. His eyes were sharp, his aura strong, and it even revealed he had entered the 4th layer of Radiant Stage. However, although it was just 1 layer, Zhuo Fan's eyes left everyone gaping. They were blacker than ever before, brimming with unspeakable power, ready to swallow everything. Zhuo Fan, are you alright? Frowning, Fiend Yang gave him a deep look, not recognizing him at all. In just 3 days, Zhuo Fan's entire aura had changed. It was as if he had been transformed. Zhuo Fan's looked himself up and down and looked at them oddly. What, aren't I the same? In that instant, Zhuo Fan's aura reverted to normal and caused them to pause. They were still phased out, unable to determine if what they saw really happened or not. Why was it that we felt such danger coming from Steward Zhuo? It's like he wanted to destroy everything. Fiend Yang probed, Zhuo Fan, just what did you do in there? Are you confident of winning against Yi Lin? I'm still not sure. Zhuo Fan frowned and shook his head. In these 3 days, I have combed through all the skills I knew and found some flexible enough to fight Yi Lin with. I just don't know if they'll be enough. And there are some among them that I'm not too clear on their effects. I'll need more time to think before I know more. Fiend Yang's eyelid twitched as he stared down hard. If you succeed, that will be the day you'll be even more frightening, far more than Yi Lin. I am sure of it. Zhuo Fan blinked doubtfully, only to see Fiend Yang smile and wave him off. It's just a hunch of mine. Don't mind it. The Superior 3 Sects challenge stage is about to begin. Let's go. Let's. Zhuo Fan did not press Fiend Yang for answers, taking the lead of the team as they walked, filled with more power than ever. He did not realize that the gazes on him were not just of amazement but fear. He never noticed how his teammates looked at him with nothing but dread the minute he came out. That was no illusion. Zhuo Fan went through great changes once more. Chapter 689, Soul Chain Array. Chapter 689, Soul Chain Array. Proofreader, Papatonks. The arena had been packed full since early morning, and not just with the nation's delegations but with each sect's team as well. Even with his soul heavily wounded, the pale Han Yunfeng still dragged his weary body over to watch. Today was the day the entire Western lands were being shuffled. A mere lower 3 sect had been making its way before the superior 3 sects and challenging these powerhouses that had remained untouched for thousands of years. Everyone was waiting for this moment to see if these kings' crowns would be sitting on their heads much longer. Whoosh tilde. The judge once again made his appearance in the ring. He bowed before the exalted and looked at the crowd with pink cheeks. It looked like he was excited about today, just like anyone else. The 5 sects teams, Enter, Ultimate Clarity Sect, Hellion Flame, and Universal Righteous Sect took the lead in appearing at the same time. Sword God Sect and Demon Scheming Sect's team leaders followed them, walking casually. The instant Zhuo Fan appeared, the crowd went wild. It was common knowledge by now that the only reason the tiny lower 3 sect could reach up to this point was because of this disciple paving its way. Of course, everyone would pay attention to this outstanding leader. They were all eager to see what kind of miracle he would create next. Only Universal Righteous Sect looked at Zhuo Fan as a plague on these lands, filled with hatred and not little fear. The judge roamed his cold eyes over everyone. And while it was quite obvious, he had to stick to the program. Sword God Sect disciples, do you wish to challenge the superior 3 sects? Of course. Wen Dao shouted, filled with vigor. The judge nodded. Such valor. They clearly have damaged souls yet still come to fight. They are true Sword God Sect disciples. The judge turned to Zhuo Fan to shout, Demon Scheming Sect disciples, do you challenge the superior 3 sects? The judge's voice echoed in the ears of every person here. All eyes were now on Zhuo Fan. Eager for his response, Zhuo Fan muttered something, then eyed Yi Lin before he shouted, that's a matter of course because I am the strongest one here. A clamor erupted. Zhuo Fan's promise was more than just confidence. Everyone shook at his words. We know you're really tough, but you still have a way to go to become the strongest. Don't forget there's still Western Land's best talent, Wu Qingqiu. Even if we dismiss him, there's still the up-and-coming Yi Lin. While the two had yet to truly fight, from what they had shown so far, everyone believed Yi Lin was no less than Zhuo Fan. Why would you even dare to make such a bold statement? Exalted Double Dragons shared a look, puzzled as well. Everyone knew Zhuo Fan was very calm and not a braggart, unaware of where he stood. Yi Lin's next words made everyone understand what was going on. Zhuo Fan, I am the strongest disciple in Western Lands. You're just the runner-up, and my senior brother is third. Yi Lin spoke with power and confidence. The crowd grew even more excited now. Seeing the two staring daggers at each other, they were taken by an odd feeling. It was as if they were two tigers fighting over a single mountain. These two's fight has got to be awesome. Wu Qingqiu shook his head. Junior brother, don't drag me into your fight. Besides, I've been the best talent in Western Lands before you, so how could you just put me in third place? You shouldn't have said it even if it's true. Wu Qingqiu, is your junior brother a secret senior brother for 2 decades? Ha ha ha, Yang Mo felt like teasing him. Then he felt sad. It used to be only Wu Qingqiu, who was his opponent, his target. By defeating him, he'd be the best in Western Lands. But as fate had it, there were 2 freaks around as well, throwing Wu Qingqiu behind in the third spot. What would that make of him? It was like his aim all along was to get further and further away from him. Yang Mo sighed, feeling just as depressed as Wu Qingqiu. Only Zhao Deju's eyelid twitched, filled with burning hatred as the twos faced off. The Superior 3 Sects challenge stage was conducted in order. You've yet to pass Universal Righteous Sect, yet you only care about that punk from Ultimate Clarity Sect? Are you taking us for chopped liver? You're too damn insufferable. Just you wait, Shuofan. Zhao Deju glared with hatred as he huffed, his eyes taking a colder glimmer. Rivals must fight to establish a winner. Exalted He Ran looked at Exalted Bai Mai and chuckled, ha ha ha, Shuofan does know what's going on. He's not at all careless before he faces his real opponent. Before one wins or not, all must hold confidence in their hearts. Or the battle would be lost before it started. Shuofan's declaration of the strongest has just cut off all retreat. Soon, they will both show all they are made of. This will be a battle worth seeing. Exalted Bai Mai looked gleeful, even more eager than the crowd below. Hu Tilda. The judge stood between Shuofan and Yi Lin, cutting the sparks between them. Glaring at Shuofan and then at Yi Lin, the judge huffed, what are you two staring at? It's far too soon for you to fight. You'll get your turn soon enough. Why the rush? SSS tilde. Zhao Deju rolled his eyes, choking on his anger. Hey, judge, you're supposed to be impartial. Couldn't you be the littlest bit fair? What were you trying to say? Why have you left us out? By them getting their turn, does that mean the Universal Righteous Sect is bound to lose? If even you think we're losers, what's the point of fighting then? Universal Righteous Sect disciples' faces fell one after the other, silent and sullen. The same thing was happening at Hellion Flame's side. Universal Righteous Sect was not the only one before the top. There was also Hellion Flame. They weren't that hateful since their leader, Yang Mo, was no saint, and neither was he stubborn. He truly admired Shuo's power, so he was just a little bit sad. That was all thanks to the judge's intervention. The two returned to their positions. Next up was the fight between Universal Righteous Sect and Sword God Sect. As expected, Sword God Sect's team had wounded souls, and against Universal Righteous Sect's shameless act of saving their strength had routed them, cutting their challenge short. Now was Demon Scheming Sect's turn to fight Universal Righteous Sect in a team battle. Everyone was on the edge of their seats, watching the last challenger begin his fight. Tilda. The two gatekeepers made their signs and opened the door to the fighting grounds. Shuofan touched the thunder ring as he took his team inside. Universal Righteous Sect was not one to tarry either. Whoosh tilde. The two teams were back in that secluded valley. Shuofan waved, letting the rest of his team stand back a bit while he went ahead alone. He then showed an evil smirk, you guys stay out of this. I want to use these guys as dummies for my move. Shuofan, your arrogance knows no bounds. You dare take all 10 of us alone? Zhao Deju squinted and roared. Shuofan mocked, in every battle, you never once went all out. I alone am more than enough. In fact, you should be freaking honored. Scheming cowards like you even get me. Why you? Zhao Deju's mouth twitched as he glared at Shuofan. His aura shook, but it soon regained calm as he sported an odd smile. Humph, Universal Righteous Sect has always fought for righteous justice. Even if everyone misunderstands our honorable pursuit, it matters not. As long as we can stop you demons from getting in the Superior 3 Sects, we will stop the demonic path from growing. We will not blink in the face of death. We will not falter. You said we didn't fight all out in our battles. Fine, now we will use everything to deal with you, demon. It doesn't matter if the others join. We don't care about some nobody demons. We only want to deal with the main evil. Zhao Deju made a sign and charged. 10-man seal. Soul Chain Array. The other 9 disciples also moved, landing in a circle around Shuofan as they made their signs. At that moment, the wind changed, blowing hard as the sounds of rattling chains echoed about. Vague chains shot out from every disciple, connecting them and forming a tight circle. An invisible barrier formed and trapped Shuofan and the 10 people from the rest of the world. Chapter 690, Dragon Souls Change. Chapter 690, Dragon Souls Change. Proofreader, Papatonks. The Soul Chain Array? Wu Qingqiu's brow shook, looking at the scene in front of him with a dumbstruck face. For once, Zhao Dezhu isn't blowing his horn. The soul chain array requires 10 souls to link together. Once it's broken, death awaits. This has always been used as a last resort. Now, just to block Zhuo Fan, they are risking their lives. It truly fits their righteous beliefs. Have we been wrong about them all along? Yang Mo cocked an eyebrow, mocking, we'll know it as we watch them fight. Maybe they'll quit halfway like they always did. Wu Qingqiu pondered and then nodded, his face showing a trace of doubt. The soul chain array is quite amazing. As long as they persevere, not even Zhuo Fan's Heaven Dragon Soul could breach it. I don't think they plan on pulling back, do you, junior brother? Wu Qingqiu asked Yi Lin, who was silent. Only his eyes stared unblinkingly at the chains rattling about. An average Heaven Dragon Soul will find it hard to get out of a 10 expert entrapment. Although, Zhuo Fan, you are a sacred beast inheritor, your Heaven Dragon Soul shouldn't be limited to its basic power. Yi Lin squinted, eager to watch how this play unfolded. Rattle tilde. The sharp and crisp sounds of the chains could be heard as the 10 people were tied by them, swaying in a precise rhythm. Zhuo Fan gave the circle a once-over and snickered. He shot straight for Zhao Dezhu, arriving in a blink. His almighty fist smashed head-on whoosh tilde. At this moment, a faint chain came out of nowhere for Zhuo Fan and locked his mighty Qilin arm stalled. Zhuo Fan felt sapped of power, and his fist was locked in place frowning. Zhuo Fan was puzzled about how that happened. He gave his right a firm shake, hoping to remove the pesky chain. But tens of other chains came at him from everywhere with his right holding him in place. Zhuo Fan ended up with all his limbs sealed up in chains. The chains rattled, and he was hung in mid-air. No matter what he tried to do, he couldn't shake them off. His power was also being locked at the same time, and he was unable to make use of it. Steward Zhuo, Qi Changlong and the others cried out in worry and attacked the 10 people. However, they didn't get very far as tens of chains shot from the 10 people, whipping them away. Demon Scheming Sect's team spat blood, overwhelmed by the force they were struck with. Is this the power of a superior 3 sect? They couldn't defeat one of them even if they attacked together. Zhao Dezhu sneered at them. Demon Scheming Sect is but a tiny lower 3 sect. You've got lucky to reach the middle 3 sects, and now you dare lust for the superior 3 sects. Humph, that's delusional. Now that we 10 are united, no matter how you try to attack us, you will be facing all our power combined. That's why I said you all are insignificant little demons. We never cared about you. If not for this freak needing us to use this array, we wouldn't have bothered with you, ha ha ha. Universal Righteous Sect's other disciples laughed together, filled with scorn. Qi Changlong gnashed his teeth and clenched his fists in anger. They knew as well that the higher they challenged, the weaker they became until it came to this team battle, where Zhuo Fan was the only one able to fight while the Mystical Heaven Sect had screwed them over in the singles. They were more than sure in their hearts. Even if Mystical Heaven Sect hadn't done anything to stop them, it was almost impossible for them to challenge the others in singles with their strength. This left them heartbroken. They represented their sect in the Double Dragon Gathering, but each fight ended with them being useless and unable to do a single damn thing. Their morale had reached a whole new low. They were seen as nothing but clowns in every battle they played. And for what? Zhuo Fan saw through them as he said in a blaming tone. Why did you attack? I thought I told you to stand back and leave it alone. Qi Changlong shook, and they all nodded. They saw Zhuo Fan's stern look, like a teacher rebuking them. You never got so far. This had long since stopped being your stage. But since you're here, just sit back and stay there, witness the power of the strongest disciple in Western lands. Everything can change given time. You are only spectators now. It is up to you if you want to take this spot in the future. There's nothing to be sad about. They all jerked and saw his meaning. They were from a lower 3 sect, so they couldn't match a superior 3 sect's disciple. That was a fact. But they weren't weak because they were lacking compared to the others. It was because the others had way more resources. Now that Zhuo Fan had brought them here, they would soon enjoy the same amount of resources. They would then test themselves to see if they were dragons or bugs. Everything did change with time. They would one day surpass these people and become among the best in Western lands. Being sad and crestfallen now was just not worth it. Their eyes regained their conviction, Thankful to Zhuo Fan's reminder, the fiends felt at ease as well. What a leader this Zhuo Fan turned out to be. At one time, he is sloppy, not giving a dime about anything. In another, he is responsible, becoming the mentor of demon scheming sect's disciples. For a cultivator, what mattered most was not to be arrogant and overconfident. In this aspect, Zhuo Fan was undoubtedly the best leader for these geniuses, beating them when they were cocky and showing them what it means that there will always be someone better than you. Then encourage them when they are down, filling them with confidence and self-respect. I must say Zhuo Fan is doing a good job guiding them as we, venerables, do. At least he doesn't skimp when the need arises. Fiend Yang chuckled, looking at the other two. They nodded, looking at Zhuo Fan with admiration. It wasn't just them. Even the exalted double dragons and the elders of every sect were impressed just as much. His ridiculous strength aside, based on his leading expertise, Zhuo Fan was capable of commanding. Zhao Dezhu sneered at his words. Bringing a bunch of scum to this scene will only get them killed. Not just them, but you will die as well. Our soul chain array has locked your spirit. You can no longer control your body. No matter how strong you are, you can't show it, ha ha ha. Is it now? Then we'll have to see how my soul fares. Zhuo Fan grinned. A heaven-shaking draconic roar rumbled. Zhuo Fan's heaven dragon soul again took to the skies, wrapped in a shimmering prismatic glow as it dyed the world in 7 colors, while the locked Zhuo Fan kept shaking, ready to break out at any moment. Zhao Dezhu was not in the least bit worried but excited instead. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, you've been duped. I've waited for this moment from the start. Our soul chain array locking your spirit is just a secondary effect. Its main purpose is to lock your soul. Now your soul will be crushed. Zhao Dezhu's team's hands changed and made different signs. Rattling chains shot into the air in hundreds as they went for Heaven Dragon's soul from all directions. In a blink, the huge dragon was completely sealed up. The prismatic dragon struggled all the time, but it was still impossible to break away. Heaven Dragon's soul roared, its big eyes raging as if the dragon's soul found it unexpected. These chains would not break even under all its power. Oh no, the soul chain array is universal righteous sect that has 10 people's souls linked together. They are using soul against soul. No matter how strong Heaven Dragon's soul is, it is just one. It may be far more powerful, but it won't last long against 10 souls united. Wu Qingqiu sighed. If this Heaven Dragon soul can't get out of this array fast, it will be worn down. Yi Lin nodded. That is regarding the main Heaven Dragon soul. But this would all change if he found a way to combine it with his strength. I wonder if he had managed to make Heaven Dragon's soul change, and what would it become if he did? This is what bothers me most. Say what? The Heaven Dragon soul can change? Wu Qingqiu glanced at Yi Lin before turning back to see Zhuo Fan. Chapter 691, Almighty Scarlet Dragon King. Chapter 691, Almighty Scarlet Dragon King. Proofreader, Papatonks. Roar. The draconic roar rang in everyone's ears. The huge body encased in hundreds of chains thrashed around in fury, despite how useless it all was. It made everyone who watched it worry. Sister Ching Cheng, what now, what now? His body is stuck, and now his soul too. He looks doomed. Will he really die at the hands of that universal righteous sect? Dana was frantic, her adorable face red with worry. The other girls weren't that vocal, but they worried still. Xian Xiaoyu sneered, Humph, all the people he met so far were nothing until now. He is facing the experts of a superior 3 sect. Not even attacked from behind did they blink. Moreover, a demon like him should have died long ago. Dana, don't worry. He is aiming for ultimate clarity sects Yi Lin. Before that, he will not lose. Ignoring Xian Xiaoyu's obnoxious rant, Chu Qingcheng still spoke with certainty. She then turned to watch Zhuo Fan, neither frantic nor excited, completely confident. The girls eased at her words, leaving Xian Xiaoyu the only one feeling vexed and fuming. Why are you only looking at him and never at me? Roar Tilda. With another series of roars, the huge dragon finally grew tired. As the chains pulled, the prismatic glow slowly faded and twisted his body tighter. Zhao Dezhu lit up as he shouted, Ha ha ha, that dragon soul is done for. Brothers, it's time we strike. Tear that dragon to pieces and kill him. Oh. With a shout of excitement, the others changed signs, and the chains started moving, pulling every which way and grinding hard on the dragon. It was not long before a pristine dragon scale fell. As it fell, it faded, the energy it carried vanishing without a trace. The huge dragon roared in pain at the sky. Zhuo Fan felt it too, his brow shaking hard. The only movement he was capable of. Zhao Dezhu was even more assured of success. He laughed. The punk has no ace up his sleeve. Break him, boys, break this dragon apart, and the whole western lands will echo our names. They were about to kill a heaven dragon soul, after all. Therefore, they all started making quick signs, and the chains started grinding harder. More and more scales were ripped off, and Zhuo Fan just had a constant frown on his face. Ha ha ha, senior brother, he clearly can't take it. It looks like setting up the soul chain array was without dangers. The heaven dragon soul isn't much to look at. One disciple pointed at Zhuo Fan and mocked him. Zhao Dezhu nodded, tooting his horn now and again. I have told you already. I, Zhao Dezhu, shall grasp victory. Ha ha ha. Right, right. Senior brother's name is indeed marvelous, grasping victory. Ha ha ha. Another disciple was being a toady, smiley face. It's a play on his name, saying that he can grasp anything and that he's in control. Until now, the Universal Righteous Sect was testing Zhuo Fan to see his response. Since this array worked against him, they were going all out, sending thousands of chains this time to tear the dragon apart. They were afraid the array would fall short, so they were going easy when attacking. But now, since they knew Zhuo Fan was hopeless against it, they had no qualms about finishing the huge dragon faster. Besides, the faster they ended him, the quicker they'd be able to bask in the glory and cheers of their fans. Universal Righteous Sect isn't a scheming coward, but enduring in silence. See, we're not only stopping a demonic sect from being a superior 3 sect but are killing a heaven dragon soul. This is an incredible feat. Universal Righteous Sect's team pulled out all the stops, speeding up the huge dragon's destruction rate. Yang Mo frowned. I never thought a true expert like Zhuo Fan would end up trapped and dead by Zhao Dezhu's team. Heaven dragon soul can also be tied up and unable to fight. Does that mean demon scheming sect's advance stops here? Don't be so sure. Yi Lin's face was hard. His eyes stared ahead. The formation of the soul is just the basic appearance, while it is shaped further by every person's style. The sword soul is the same, and so is the heaven dragon soul, each molded by their truth. Until now, Zhuo Fan's heaven dragon soul has only shown its initial form, having no differentiating characteristic. Can it be that he has yet to comprehend anything? That's so disappointing, eh? Yi Lin's words got cut off as he noticed Zhuo Fan's look. He then cried out in surprise, I just knew his dragon soul wasn't just this. Yang Mo had no time to react. He turned to Zhuo Fan and shouted, what is that? The heaven dragon soul is changing. Yi Lin snickered in glee. I can't wait to see just how different his heaven dragon soul is from mine. Ha ha ha. Tilda. Zhao Dezhu's team was still wallowing in premature success. But then the sudden shift around them caused them to feel like the chains were slipping, like they couldn't get any more scales from the dragon. Startled, they looked up at once to see the huge dragon unmoving, yet it had a different appearance. There was now a scarlet glow coming from it, oozing nefarious and creepy energy. It was this scarlet glow that rendered their chains useless. What the hell? Everyone looked at each other bug-eyed as to what was going on. Snickering, Zhuo Fan stared right at Zhao Dezhu. A bunch of children, that's all you are. You finally went all out. Ha ha ha, then I should reply in kind as well. I'll show you what it means to run but can't hide. Zhuo Fan's eyes focused and shouted, Dragon Soul Variation, Chilean Form, Almighty Scarlet Dragon King. Boom. The huge dragon covered in hundreds of chains suddenly unleashed a tremendous power wave in all directions. The chains binding it rattled harder and harder while the array itself was tipping towards collapse. Zhao Dezhu's team gasped in shock, their eyes reflecting their disbelief. The dragon soul should have been wrung dry by them. How was it that it could still fight? The next scene had them all understanding and slack-jawed. The dragon soul shone scarlet all over, its fangs growing and growing, taking a savage form as the scales regrew, only this time they formed a tough armor. Unlike the sleek and soft feel the previous scales gave, it roared at the sky, shaking the very heavens themselves. It was more than 10 times as powerful and ferocious as before. Rather than say it was a heaven dragon soul, it was more apt to call it a different kind of dragon soul, one that was worlds above. This is his changed dragon soul, Almighty Scarlet Dragon King? Yi Lin sighed, not bad. By combining the sacred beast Chiline's power with a heaven dragon soul, you get a much stronger dragon soul variant. While not as good as my golden heaven dragon king, it's not a bad version, either. At the very least, it contains all the power of a sacred beast. Ha ha ha, Zhuofan, you really are my fated adversary. Yi Lin was getting even more excited, eager for his battle with Zhuofan. However, while some were overjoyed, others were lamenting. Zhao Dezhu and company were completely lost for words, looking at each other with tears in their eyes. How the hell did the soul get from its deathbed to being stronger than ever? Does that mean all our efforts were for nothing? What took the cake was that it was looking even more dangerous. Now that they had invested their lives in this array, they couldn't pull back either. Zhao Dezhu pondered for a moment, then pointed at Zhuofan in shock. I got it. You didn't fight back once because you were waiting for us to use all our soul power, isn't it? Ha ha ha, I must say you are living up to your name, leader of Universal Righteous Sect. So you do have a slightly bigger brain. Zhuofan grinned. Every time you fought, you would call it quits soon after. That's not what I wanted to see. Now that you've invested your souls into this fight, we are now in a battle to the death. You either kill me, or I kill you. Ha ha ha. Zhao Dezhu's team's hearts sank, feeling duped. But then Zhao Dezhu lit up. Don't panic, we still have his dragon soul sealed. We have the upper hand. Boom tilde. The scarlet dragon twisted, and the thousands of chains crumbled. Zhao Dezhu's team couldn't even react. All they did was spew blood, again and again, looking ready to breathe their last. You were saying? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow, putting on his trademark evil smile to complement his mocking gaze. Chapter 692, Ungrasped Victory. Chapter 692, Ungrasped Victory. Proofreader, Papatonks. The dragon tail, seeping scarlet light, frivolously flicked about, yet the pressure it exerted felt like hell on the poor disciples of the Universal Righteous Sect. It was because this light tail swipe had their entire barrier shaking all over. I never thought his heaven dragon soul would exhibit such a change. Just what kind of enlightenment did he have to give birth to such a powerful heaven dragon soul? It's by far dozens of times stronger. By my, I don't think even we could pull it off. Exalted Hei Rant's eyes glittered in shock. Exalted by my, echoed his amazement. So young, yet his realizations brought the heaven dragon soul to such a level. His future is bound to be glorious. Now I want to see who will be the winner between him and Yi Lin. Who will be worthy of being the best in Western lands? Raising an eyebrow, exalted Hei Ran gave a nod of approval, his eyes shining with excitement. They were unaware that Zhuofan and Yi Lin were sacred beast inheritors. Their understanding of the soul was fundamentally different. Their praises were nowhere near enough. Zhuofan had fused the power of the strongest sacred beast, Chiline, with the heaven dragon soul, resulting in the almighty Scarlet Dragon King. While it was leagues above the previous dragon soul in terms of strength, a dragon soul came from the dragon race. And the one who knew dragons the most was the decimating dragon ancestor. In his capacity as an inheritor, Yi Lin's golden heaven dragon king had been molded to the best form for the heaven dragon soul to reach its full potential. In terms of power, it was naturally stronger than Zhuofan's half-breed. It was a truth Zhuofan was most aware of and had taken into consideration. He thought, for now, showing this much was enough. Sporting an evil grin, Zhuofan flexed his mind, and the scarlet dragon flicked its tail. Like a steel sword, it went right through those illusory chains. With all the chains on Zhuofan snapped off, he could move again while Zhao Dezhu's team was puking blood, looking at the dragon in fear. The Scarlet Dragon King's power was beyond their imagination. The 10 of them united could do nothing to hold this dragon back. Even for a second they were entirely on the receiving end now. Unable to do anything to fight it, it would soon crush their barrier with this monster's power. It was unknown how long the barrier would last. Once it collapsed, it spelled the destruction of their souls. This thought drove all of them to the verge of crying. They wouldn't have gone all out if they knew this would happen. Now they were going to die for their folly. Zhao Dezhu's brow shook, his face looking worse for wear, having lost his arrogance. He was even pleading, Zhuofan, can't we talk about this? We admit defeat. Let's just stop it here. Demon scheming sect can go on challenging while we will be stepping down. The other 9 disciples bobbed their heads. Never before had they been more in favor of their senior brother's decision. The onlookers all huffed at the display. Wu Qingqiu even looked at them with disdain. Some people just never change. They want to shirk back again. Only this time, they had set up such a large array. The battle continued as long as they did not take down the array. Talking at this point was no use. What if you lied about your defeat, planned, and duped your opponent at the end? On the other hand, if they were to take down the array, Zhuo Fan could use this chance to break the barrier when they were at their weakest. With the barrier tied to their souls, its destruction meant their deaths, so they had to talk it out with Zhuo Fan first so that both sides stopped fighting. Or Zhuo Fan would kill them the moment he saw a chance. Because of this rotten soul chain array, their momentum and advantage proved to be their fatal weakness. The one in complete control of the situation was none other than Zhuo Fan, the one they had just tried to trap. Talk about cruel irony. That's what you get for being cocky all the time. You got what you deserved. Zhuo Fan eyed them coldly as he said, "Now you want to back off? It's a little late for that. Weren't you so bossy before? You ruined so many of my Heaven Dragon Soul's scales, and now you just want to flee. As if." Bam! With a loud sound, the Scarlet Dragon's tail flicked again, smashing the barrier and shaking the 10 disciples. They spat blood again and could feel their insides boiling in pain. The barrier was shaking all over, ready to topple at any moment. Here, weren't you always yelling that good and evil can't coexist, purging demons and whatnot? Yours truly shall help you fulfill your lifelong mission and gain glory. Either you kill me, or I kill you. From this small valley, only one side can walk out alive. Zhuo Fan shouted, his face twisted in savagery. Demon scheming sect's team snickered and taunted them. While the Universal Righteous Sect disciples were feeling worse than ever, Zhuo Fan clearly wanted them to fight to the last breath. If they both ended up losing, they would have a bargaining chip, but Zhuo Fan was just too strong, with a high chance of breaking away, destroying the barrier in the process. Everyone turned their eyes to Zhao Dezhu with a hopeful gaze, waiting for his orders. Zhao Dezhu frowned, looking around in thought, before he shouted with bravery, "Demon scum, don't get carried away. Do you think we have no way of defeating you? We thought of letting you live with respect for the heavens that care for life. But you forget, you are alone while we are 10 united. You can never match us in a fight to the death. Junior brothers, fight. Let us show him that Universal Righteous Sect's justice is not something you can profane." Zhao Dezhu looked at the 9 disciples as he roared, "Remember this, with me, Zhao Dezhu here, victory is grasped. No demon shall ever succeed." Roar. That speech enlivened all disciples. Once again, conviction burned in their chests. Their hands went through signs, and their power grew. Even the audience was touched by their valor, feeling. Or Wu Qingqiu took a deep breath and said, "Aside from Zhao Dezhu's bigotry, his valor is truly rare. I never thought that he would be able to show his heroic side in the end. I see no hero here, only a clown giving his last performance." Yang Mo mocked like he saw through it all. Wu Qingqiu started, giving him an odd look. Yang Mo smiled, "Brother Wu, you're a righteous cultivator, and the ultimate clarity sect hardly ever resorts to treachery. You won't understand the meaning of a dignified hypocrite. In layman's terms, all bark and no bite. Would you ever start blathering all kinds of reasons when you try to encourage your fellow brothers to fight? What universal righteous? What grasping victory? Haha, it's nothing but a load of bullshit. Who here doesn't know that the one to truly grasp victory is the one with the bigger fist? If he'd been able to do that from the start, the matter would have been over and done with ages ago. Why waste time with such nonsense?" Then, Wu Qingqiu began. Yang Mo snickered, he's using them to pave his exit. "Wait and see. This is the symbol of righteousness, standing against the vile demons." On Mystical Heaven Sect's side, Xian Xiaoyu saw the Universal Righteous Sect's disciples united against Zhuo Fan and could not help but cheer. The girls rolled their eyes. Chu Qingcheng even gave him a mocking smile, just some petty trick. Universal Righteous Sect's loss is certain. Zhao Dezhu is such a revolting coward. Why do you say that, Qingcheng? Isn't he valiant? Shui Ruohua looked at her. Qingcheng shook her head. You hardly see it used among cultivators, but among common people, betraying each other is commonplace. He speaks of justice just to arouse other people to fight, while he is the only one who doesn't follow his own preaching. What does this say about him, I wonder? The girls scowled in understanding. Bam! Another loud explosion and hundreds of chains shot for the Scarlet Dragon. Universal Righteous Sect's disciples were now fully invested in this fight, filled with battle spirit. However, a tail swipe blew them all away. What followed was blood from everyone's mouths. Don't falter, people. With me, Zhao Dezhu, here, victory is in our grasp. Zhao Dezhu once again shouted, stirring them up into gritting their teeth and fighting again. No one here doubted how their valiant senior brother could be filled with such valor even after he was struck back by the Scarlet Dragon. People did not care that much though. They were willing to lay down their lives to uphold their righteous justice as they shot hundreds of chains once more. The Scarlet Dragon did not move this time, letting the chains coil around it. Seeing a glimmer of hope, they raised their heads. Maybe just a little more push and they could win this. However, they then noticed Shuo Fan's mocking eyes. Two snapping sounds echoed. They all stood dumbstruck, turning around to see Zhao Dezhu breaking his connections with his fellow disciples and running away as he apologized. Forgive me, brothers, your senior brother has ungrasped victory this time. Chapter 693, Forsaken. Chapter 693, Forsaken. Proofreader, Papa Tonks. Senior brother, how can you? All the Universal Righteous Sect disciples stood in disbelief, unable to come to terms with the fact their glorious head senior brother was forsaking them. Some were even crying. Their head senior brother, who always shouted that he would grasp victory, had cast them aside. Shuo Fan felt the barrier weakening by a significant degree as he mocked. You still don't get it. Your senior brother had been spurring you on just to keep the barrier up while he got away with his life. If the barrier collapsed, then all would die. This, however, it's much better. 9 die so one can flee. Your deaths now have some worth, ha ha ha. Everyone looked in the direction Zhao Dezhu went with questioning gazes. Unable to face them, Zhao Dezhu lowered his head as he spoke. Double Dragon Gathering needs to have a survivor to return and guide the next generation of disciples to fight in the Double Dragon Gathering. This is for the greater good, you. Excuses, Zhao Dezhu. You're just a spineless hypocrite that has clearly forsaken us. One disciple cut him off as he cursed. He didn't get to finish, as Shuo Fan had the almighty Scarlet Dragon King shake and remove all those chains on it at the same time. Its huge bulk slammed into the barrier, breaking it down. Its vast body soared through the skies and unleashed its rage. The Universal Righteous Sect's 9 disciples spat one last mouthful of blood and lost all signs of life. They crumbled to the ground, their souls gone. All that remained was the anger and remorse in their eyes. Whether by coincidence or not, Shuo Fan's attack allowed this heavy regret to be forever engraved in their eyes. When the huge dragon rushed out, the 9 disciples were flung by its force, and it so happened they fell all around Zhao Dezhu. Their eyes stared at him. A mere glance left him struck with fear as he stumbled back. He hurriedly looked away, unable to bear the shame. The spectators all looked at him with scorn. As a cultivator, it is shameful enough not to face adversities as you meet them, but you just treated the brothers you spend so much time with as scapegoats to save your pathetic life. This is a question of character. You even go as far as spewing excuses as you flee, shirking all responsibility. If you use them as scapegoats, the least you can do is be honest about it. That way, it'll make you look cunning, at the very least, become a demonic cultivator. But by mincing words, you only earned everyone's scorn. You're not qualified to even be a man. Wu Qingqiu sighed in disappointment, finally understanding what Yang Mo was saying. Zhao Dezhu was even worse than he had thought. Shui Ruohua and the girls' eyes lit up. Then they sent a look of admiration to Chu Qingcheng Shi, who had come from a common clan among the common people, could easily spot a hypocrite. While they trained for years in their sect, they lacked life experiences. They only knew of good versus evil while oblivious to the complexity of a person's character. It was hard to believe Zhao Dezhu, the great leader of the Universal Righteous Sect's team, would stoop so low. It's best to avoid him. He's not worth our time. Shui Ruohua turned to Xian Xiaoyu, wanting to say something. Senior sister, why are you looking at me? Xian Xiaoyu was sulking since Shuo Fan won another fight. Then he noticed Shui Ruohua's strange gaze and was startled. Shui Ruohua shook her head after a pause. Nothing, little brother. A gentleman must always improve himself, stand upright, and have dignity. Take this as a warning. Oh. Xian Xiaoyu waved her off. His eyes took a more hateful tint for some odd reason. Easing a breath, Shui Ruohua turned around with worry. She felt the little brother she saw growing up was straying further and further from the righteous path. Whoosh tilde. With the huge dragon looming around, Zhao Dezhu's figure flashed before Zhao Dezhu waved his hands about, frantic. Wait. I give. You can't attack me. I have no way to make the array again. Since I surrender, you have no reason to attack me. Elder, hurry and take me out. Universal Righteous Sect admits defeat. Zhao Dezhu blabbed in a hurry, having already forgotten he just forsook his fellow brothers and imploring the judge to save him. The judge's eyes shone with disdain, and he shook his head. He glanced over at the gatekeepers. The two caught it and began to open the door. A white light fell on the small valley, carrying the judge's voice. In Demon Scheming Sect versus Universal Righteous Sect, Demon Scheming Sect is the winner. Neither side may continue fighting. The arena was drowned in a sea of cheers. Even the fiends were wild with joy. While their aim was the superior three sects, the fact they actually achieved it was beyond glorious. The disciples of the Sword God sect smiled as well. The Demon Scheming Sect had come all the way from a lower three sect and became one of the best in the lands. It was a monumental occasion. Although Zhuo Fan had prevented the Sword God sect from reaching the superior three sects, to witness the constant for thousands of years finally change, they were gratified. This was proof the Western land sects could grow. This double dragon gathering, the Demon Scheming Sect was the underdog, and the next time, it would be Sword God sect's turn. They had a firm belief in their heart. Their convictions were sharp like a sword. The Sword God sect's disciples looked at each other and burst out laughing as if this grand achievement was theirs. Even though the judge gave his verdict, Zhuo Fan never stopped walking closer and closer towards Zhao Dezhu with a creepy smile. The grand dragon around him bared its fangs and roared, hey, it's over, Zhuo Fan. What are you doing? Zhao Dezhu was sweating buckets as Zhuo Fan approached. He was horrified by what Zhuo Fan might do, that he would ignore Double Dragon Mana's rules and kill him. The crazed demonic cultivators did not follow logic or rules. Who knew what was really on their minds, what next outrageous thing they'd do? Zhao Dezhu smiled and shook his head. He made a sign, and the scarlet dragon returned to his body. Ha, Zhao Dezhu, no need to fret. I'm a law-abiding man. Since the judge said it, I won't touch you. Moreover, I wouldn't have done anything to you even if he didn't say anything. What? Zhao Dezhu was stumped. Why would this crazed killer just let me go without rhyme or reason? Was he touched by my justice too? Ha, as if. This vile spawn is unlike those little demons. How could he get scared by my Veiler? It's a ploy. It has to be. Zhu Fan grinned, having seen through him, and patted his shoulder. You're right. I didn't kill you for a selfish reason of mine. Think about it. It's not the strong adversary one should fear but a moronic teammate. If all demonic cultivators were like Wen Dao and Wu Qingqiu, such outstanding people, then the future of demonic cultivators would be bleak. But if there were more demagogues like you, Zhao Dezhu, who resort to betrayal during a crucial time, screwing over your team, then the demonic cultivators would rule the world in a few years. One might go as far as to say you're my lucky star. I can't wait to spoil you, so why kill you? Just do you when you get back. Betray as many righteous cultivators as you can. We, demonic cultivators, shall forever shower you with the same respect as our ancestors. Ha. Zhuo Fan patted his shoulder, and the other Demon Scheming Sect disciples laughed. Even the audience joined them. Zhuo Fan might have said some cruel words, but they were all true. If there were just a few more hypocrites of Zhao Dezhu's caliber in the righteous faction, its future would look quite shaky. Zhuo Fan, I admit that you have given me a heavy blow, but what you've done now, it's a stroke of genius. Letting this punk mess up the Universal Righteous Sect back home will end up messing up all righteous sects. I could practically see the future of demonic cultivators, shining like the bright stars above. Ha. Yang Mo laughed at the sky. Wu Qingqiu, next to him, shook his head. Not just Zhao Dezhu, but even the entire Universal Righteous Sect, would become Western land's laughingstock. And they did it with their own two hands. Wu Qingqiu smiled, Seeing everyone around him having the time of their lives, the only one who wasn't that pleased by the teasing was Zhao Dezhu. His face twitched, and he glared at Shuo Fan as he ridiculed him. He passed through the curtain of light and returned to the arena. Next was Demon Scheming Sect vs. Hellion Flame. But because Hellion Flame had suffered great damage in their fight with Ultimate Clarity Sect, the fight didn't last long against Shuo Fan. Even with Yang Mo giving his all at long last, Demon Scheming Sect was facing the strongest of the 9 sects, the Ultimate Clarity Sect. Shuo Fan was now standing across from his strongest opponent, a fellow sacred beast inheritor, Yi Lin, the decimating dragon ancestor's disciple. Chapter 694, Fighting Yi Lin. Chapter 694, Fighting Yi Lin. Proofreader, Papatonks. Raw. The crowd was beyond excited now that the time had finally come to see these two teams face off and fight for the crown. On one side was the strongest sect in Western lands, under Double Dragon Manor and above many, the Ultimate Clarity Sect. For thousands of years, their position had been firm, with no one able to challenge them. On the other side was the greatest underdog the history of Double Dragon Gathering had ever seen, hailing from the lower 3 sects and killing their way up. Even though everyone knew it was due to one man alone, that wasn't enough to wipe out the excitement the crowd had felt throughout its journey in this competition. As this underdog pulled down one sect after another, the people's hearts were in their throats, thinking the next one would be the one to cast them down. Some even hoped that a sect could halt this rampaging dark horse in its tracks, while at the same time wishing to see it reaching higher and higher, doing something that had never been done in ages. This contradiction further increased their expectations for what Demon Scheming Sect was about to offer in this fight, one between the current and prospective kings. Would Ultimate Clarity Sect rule unfazed for ages more, or would the new reign of the Demon Scheming Sect over the 9 sects be established? It wasn't just the audience. Even the 9 sects teams were tense. Their nerves stretched taut, as were their muscles. How many years has it been since we last saw such an exciting match? Exalted by my let out a refreshed smile. Exalted Hei Ran nodded. The sects haven't shifted their seats in thousands of years, letting the Western lands enjoy peace. But sooner or later, someone will come and change all that. This is for the best. The shift in order will drive the sects into teaching their disciples harder, ha ha ha. Exalted by my nodded, the eyes of both of them settling on Yi Lin and Shuo Fan. They knew the outcome of this fight rested entirely on their shoulders. As for the rest, except Wu Qingqiu, all were useless no matter how hard it was to accept. As long as anyone in the audience wasn't completely blind, they would also look at the two in excitement. This fight wasn't just to settle who was the top superior 3 sect, but also who was the best disciple in the Western lands, the future best cultivator in the Western lands. The two teams are here. Now I know what your intentions are. I still need to ask you. Demon Scheming Sect, do you want to challenge the head of the 9 sects, Ultimate Clarity Sect? The judge was fired up as well. He hardly used the head of the 9 sects title in his announcements. This clearly showed he wanted to spur them on. Not even he could stay calm in front of this excitement. The audience started chanting, "Fight, fight, fight. As you all wish, we shall fight." Shuo Fan raised his fist, shouting. The cheers reached the heavens once more. The judge nodded and smiled. Open the dimension. Tilde. The 2 gatekeepers once again opened the door to the secret valley. Wu Qingqiu smiled at Shuo Fan's team, taking the lead to go through first. Shuo Fan's eyelid twitched, touching his ring. He then led his team through. He didn't forget that Dan Qingshun was still hiding in his ring. He had to think of a way to let this old coot slip out with none the wiser. As for the right timing, he would have to wait it out. Shuo Fan's mission weighed heavily on his shoulders. He not only was going into a fight to the death with Yi Lin, but now he had Dan Qingshun to worry about. Any of these 2 tasks could be done alone if he put his all into it. But since he had to do them at the same time, that required some careful planning at the very least. It would require some skill if he wanted to get the ring back after throwing it without raising any eyebrows. He did have a plan in mind, but it was all up to Yi Lin and his role in this act. Easing a breath, Shuo Fan focused as he stepped through the white curtain. He was back in the small valley. This was his 6th time here, and he was quite familiar with it. He knew where the monitoring arrays were placed and where their blind spots were. Tilde. His teammates followed next, and the two sects faced each other. Ha ha ha, Brother Zhuo is so strong that I have been eagerly waiting for us to fight. A shame that this is not my chance. My younger brother insists on letting him have you. I am not one to take this joy from him and would have to settle for the next time. Smiling, Wu Qingqiu backed away, cupping his hands at Zhuo Fan and his team. He went before Yi Lin and said, "This might be a team battle, but we also understand the situation of their sect. They have only one person able to bear this fight, so we will also have just one person settle it. As we watch from the sidelines, I will let junior brother represent us on the field." Yi Lin walked forward, bearing a wide smile. Qi Changlong and the others felt down. Wu Qingqiu was right, without a doubt, but he was being modest about it. Though the way it was registered, it felt more like contempt, as if they only managed to get so far on the back of one person. They were utterly useless, we know that's true, but could you at least not say it? It hurts our feelings. Zhuo Fan noticed their annoyance and slowly moved forward as he stared at Ultimate Clarity Sect's team. Brother Wu is right. Our two sects fight has to be one-on-one. But once the battle starts, even if your disciples want to help, they are not to interfere. What do you say? Right, that's how it should be, ha ha ha, Qi Changlong, Kuei Lang, and the others laughed. Zhuo Fan said in reply to his statement, "You dare call us useless? Once these freaks fight, since you won't be joining either, you're just as useless. Besides sounding nice, it's just conforming to our intent of having a one-on-one fight. Actually, none of you have what it takes to join the fight. Even if you do, you'll be nothing more than cannon fodder. So what's so funny?" Holding his forehead, Wu Qingqiu smiled and shook his head. He did not deny it. Since his words were heard by all, he still had to keep his earlier words. However, Ultimate Clarity Sect's disciples grew angry at being disregarded by a lower three sect. The audience saw the two sects were ready to fight and throwing verbal attacks. They grew even more excited. The fight is bound to be intense. Junior brother, aren't you going to say something? Say what you feel. Wu Qingqiu saw his junior brothers were fuming and asked Yi Lin. Yi Lin eyed him and scratched his head before nodding. He turned to Zhuo Fan and admitted, "You're right. These people, besides senior brother Wu, can be ignored. This fight is between you and me." Wu Qingqiu's face twitched, and he held his forehead. His junior brother had always been a lone wolf. He doesn't know anything about respect for his fellow man. The others cursed. For him, though, it didn't matter if the sect hated him. The Ultimate Clarity Sect's disciples looked on with dark glares and shook their heads. This little junior brother is a professional at making fun of others. They were clueless that Yi Lin took pride in his status as a sacred beast inheritor. So how could he give a damn about some common folks? In his eyes, even Wu Qingqiu wasn't worth it. He only treated him better since the senior brother had looked after him all these years. Only Zhuo Fan was like him, a grand sacred beast inheritor. All of you stand back. I don't care if any of you die from our fight's aftershocks. Yi Lin flicked his hand with a stern look. The others knew his temper and shook their heads as they cleared the area, taking his time walking forward. Zhuo Fan looked around this place. This is a good spot. He signaled Qi Changlong and the others to leave. Stand a mile behind me, lest you want to be squashed. They all started, but they left either way. Why is it that he insists on standing behind him? Zhuo Fan had just found a blind spot in a monitoring array. With the disciples in this area, it would be easier for him to get Dan Qingshan out of his ring. So even while they were clueless, they trusted Steward Zhuo, doing what he said. Everything was in place. All that was left was to fight. Zhuo Fan focused his eyes and shot forward, his right hand unleashing a terrible red glow. Yi Lin grinned and faced him head-on with a golden flaming glow. He reached Zhuo Fan even faster than the other, the golden flaming fist punching forward. Chapter 695, Melee. Chapter 695, Melee. Proofreader. Papatonks. Eyes squinting, Zhuo Fan was startled. Although he knew that Yi Lin was fast, he didn't expect him to be that fast. He was now seeing just how fast he was with his own eyes. It felt like he was in front of him in a blink, almost faster than he could react. With little choice against the sudden punch, Zhuo Fan had to withdraw his earlier attack, turning it into a block. Even so, he had lost momentum. Bam! The explosion resulted on impact unleashed a ray of violent golden flames while Zhuofan was sent flying. The scorching heat was enough to feel pain even from his Qilin arm. Zhuofan's face looked grave. The fiends were more shocked than ever. How can this be? Stewards were actually lost in terms of raw power? Zhuofan was just as shocked as they were. He used to think that when Yi Lin refined decimating golden flame of the decimating dragon ancestor, his power was destructive in nature, not physical. So as long as he avoided clashing with it, even if he traded fists with his mighty Qilin arm, he should be able to get the upper hand against him. However, Yi Lin's body was so tough it didn't lose out against the Qilin arm at all. Are you telling me he's not human but a damn dragon? But Zhuofan shook that thought away. A real dragon taught by the Dragon Emperor had to be a little more freakish like young Sanzi. So while he was strong, it was nowhere near young Sanzi's terrifying level. Did he refine his body as well? Frowning, Zhuofan looked ahead just in time to see Yi Lin's evil look. That fist unleashed golden flames that burned everything it touched. Golden scales appeared on the fist, emitting sharp glaring lights. Zhuofan now understood. Those were dragon scales. This guy is anything but a plain human. A half-dragon, half-human at the least. But this robbed Zhuofan of any chance of winning in melee. He only had the arm of a Qilin. Everything else was pure human. Who knew how many changes his opponent had? If his entire body was turned draconic, that would be bad. He had no hope at all in close quarters. Frowning, Zhuofan's face was wrought with worry. Chu Qingcheng stared at the screen just as worried. She had never seen Zhuofan show such a serious face in a fight. While he faced Huangpu Qingtian and was once surrounded by the expert of the 7 houses, he always found a way out, even if at a disadvantage. He not once looked as lost as he was now. Yi Lin was just too strong, as anyone could see. He might even be stronger than him. But that was not the reason for his worry. He was faced with the same situation before. So why was he showing such a weakened look, like he was about to lose? Chu Qingcheng's fist tightened, so nervous her hands were sweating. The two only clashed once, but it was clear to anyone how matters stood between them. Zhuofan was on the defensive. This single strike had almost already decided how this fight would end. Whoosh tilde. Yi Lin snickered and capitalized on his advantage. He again shot for Zhuofan, fist forward, as he changed into a gold light. Zhuofan's right eye flashed in a golden halo, and he was gone, reappearing behind his opponent and striking his back. This fist carried all his power, the Qilin arm exploding with red light. And this was something Yi Lin's golden fist could not block. However, just as Zhuofan was about to hit, Yi Lin's other hand was encased in golden flames as he flicked it behind, meeting the Qilin arm. A rumble like no other echoed, one born from the striking of 2 arms unseen in the mortal domain. It unleashed frightening spatial waves and searing golden flames everywhere around them. It left nothing but destruction in its wake. 1,000 meters around them was leveled in a blink, removing from existence even the dust. All matter trapped in this area had been wiped out of existence. SSS tilde. Everyone gasped in fright at such a sight. Especially Ultimate Clarity Sect and Demon Scheming Sect's teams. They were so scared that they were sweating buckets. Wu Qingqiu's eyes shook as he had a bitter smile. As the audience enjoyed the show, the experts noticed something more. The average man wouldn't care much about what he saw, only finding it strange at best. It was common for the ground to be leveled when 2 fought. Even Radiant stage experts could do it. There was nothing to it. However, the crux was this was not just simply leveling the playing field but clearing it out. To the extent that not a single particle of dust remained. This showed the two's raw power and how focused it all was. Not even experts above the ethereal stage could unleash such pure yuan qi that it could erase matter from existence, yet these two did it through Zhuofan's power and Yi Lin's golden flame. This was the purest power the 5 great sacred beasts had refined from the primal. Chaos exalted double dragons were overwhelmed. How the hell did these 2 freaks train to be so abominable? With a groan, the 2 separated from their second clash, evenly matched. Zhuofan's hand was somewhat singed and he was gasping 100 meters away from the burning heat. He felt on it. Yi Lin's hand was shaking non-stop and even looked inflamed. Soaring Qilin was famed for its great strength among the 5 great sacred beasts. Even with the dragon scales protecting him, Yi Lin still suffered damage. However, he wasn't angry but excited. With a manic grin plastered on his face, he muttered to himself, "That's how a sacred beast inheritor should be." Soaring Chilean's punch is indeed fearsome. Hehe, the dragon soul used Soaring Chilean's power, and so did that punch. I already know who your master is. Now I don't have to hold back. Soaring Chilean is the top of the 5 great sacred beasts when it comes to raw power, but you're just a radiant stage cultivator, not in the ethereal stage. For anyone else, using the Chilean arm is enough, but against our kind, this is nowhere near enough to win. Yi Lin turned into another golden light as he shot for Zhuo Fan again. His hands, encased in golden flames, were seeping with bloodthirst. It caused Zhuo Fan to gasp from way over there. The first 2 clashes were a warm-up. Now the punk is coming at me for real. Zhuo Fan's eyes squinted, and his right eye shone golden as he used Divine Eye of the Void's first stage. Shift. He knew all too well that with Yi Lin's speed, only with Shift would he be able to get the upper hand. Whoosh. A golden and a red trail crossed each other in unending explosions as they entered a frenzied melee. When the audience saw them clash in one spot, they popped into another, bouncing all over the place. They could not catch a glimpse of each of their figures even through the screen. If they were at the scene, they would surely die without knowing how it happened. The 9 sex disciples were shocked to the core. Was this the 2 freaks' real power? Holy hell, they were worlds apart from them. They couldn't even take them on in a fistfight. It seemed like Zhuo Fan had never fought them in earnest, or they wouldn't even last 5 hits, and that begged the question in Wen Dao's mind, since Zhuo Fan is so tough, how did I get to wound him? This is too strange. The Demon Scheming Sect and Ultimate Clarity Sect's team were even more scared. They could all feel the incredible winds and fierce waves striking their skin. While they couldn't see the 2, they were all so scared that they were ashen in this fight. The 2 had reached an unknown height in terms of power and speed. The other disciples all realized one unmistakable truth: the minute they set foot anywhere near the pair, they would be ripped to pieces smaller than the eye could see. Ultimate Clarity Sect's disciples finally understood why this team battle became a single match and why they shouldn't interfere. Yi Lin had never seen them as real teammates, just as Zhuo Fan didn't recognize them as real opponents. If they managed to get Yi Lin to use half his power, that was already commendable, but now, the 2 were evenly matched, using all they had and more. Such a ferocious power let everyone know what it meant to be a world apart. All they ever amounted to in front of their battle was to be spectators. Any attempt to butt in would be met with swift death. Chapter 696, Fated Battle. Chapter 696, Fated Battle. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bang tilde. Ear-splitting explosions ripped the skies as Zhuo Fan and Yi Lin's figures flashed all over the place. They just clashed east, then they were west in the next moment. Everyone was engrossed in the show they 2 were putting on, swishing their heads left and right, up and down to catch a glimpse. But even that proved impossible. Just how is their fight going? Only a very limited number of experts could see every move they made. Sure enough, Yi Lin still has the upper hand. Exalted Hei Ran sighed. In this melee, Zhuo Fan is simply making himself a target for Yi Lin. While everyone knows his body is tough, Yi Lin's is not even a bit lacking. Exalted by my nodded, Zhuo Fan's body cultivation is just too specialized, toughening only one arm. It was enough to sweep the floor with everyone else, but Yi Lin's training has been full-bodied. Maybe this mystical arm was trained when he felt extra lonely. Exalted Hei Ran raised an eyebrow. We've all been young once, so it's understandable, ha ha ha. Proofreader's note: imagine, if it was that easy, millions of guys with Chilean. By my teased, you're so despicable. You're even joking about this. Exalted by my turned a hard face towards the fight. However, focusing all his training into that one arm had given him a miraculous power in it. The drawback of doing so is now revealed. He's already having a hard time against Yi Lin's mad assault. Exalted Hei Ran returned his focus to the screen and nodded heavily, glossing over Yi Lin's arms wrapped in golden fire. He could even get his 2 legs to burn golden too. He could attack any way he wanted from any direction, while Zhuo Fan only had a single Chilean arm to fight this onslaught. No wonder he was at a disadvantage. Other than that strong arm, Zhuo Fan was all human. The slightest touch with any of the enemy's strikes would reduce his body to nothing. Zhuo Fan frowned while his heart sank lower and lower. This was what he had feared. One who had no weaknesses against one who had just one arm would sooner or later lead to the latter's defeat. This situation brought out the fight he had with Nine Dragon's diamond body. Huangpu Qinyuan's state left him helpless. Luckily, Young Sanzi lent a hand in finishing the old guy off. Wait a sec. The returning dragon's roar made the old guy so tough. I wonder if this guy has a similar trump card hidden away. If not. Zhuo Fan's eyes glinted in the constant clashes as if he had found a way out. He punched one last time to get the other to fall back, then he got some distance by flying into the sky. It looked just like fleeing Zhuo Fan. You're not getting anywhere. Yi Lin laughed and turned into a golden ray as he shot after him, his eyes flashing with bloodlust, just like how a savage beast found another and had to tear it to pieces just as he was about to catch up. Zhuo Fan slowed down, hovering in the air. His eyes flashed with an eerie glow, and his right arm glowed a thick red as it punched. Yi Lin was caught off guard, but against a punch, he had nothing to fear. His two arms were coated in golden flames, and dragon scales sprouted all over them as he crossed them to take the punch. Something happened that floored him in more ways than one. The arm expanded and expanded. It was like a massive pillar sent from the heavens above, smashing right into him. Tangible projection, soaring Qilin leg. I'll just stomp Ya. Zhuo Fan roared in his mind, and the Qilin leg's massive power slammed into Yi Lin. Bam! The Qilin leg hit Yi Lin's arms with a resounding boom. Not even he could withstand such might. The bones in his arms were fractured, and his face went red, forced by the immense pillar to be stomped into the ground. Rumble. A loud rumbling echoed in everyone's ears, dust clouding the entire area. Under this single strike, that little valley sported 100-meter-deep hole. Ultimate Clarity Sect and Demon Scheming Sect's disciples felt the whole world shaking with them, their faces overcome with shock. When the dust finally scattered, the people gazed upon the magnificent Qilin leg with stupefaction. Holy mackerel! What is that thing? Is it human? Some were so overwhelmed they just stared into space. Even the exalted were having a hard time comprehending this sight. We've been on this earth for so many years, yet this is a first for us too. Just what the hell did the kid do to train that right arm? The exalted found it hard to believe their eyes. Only Wu Qingqiu was quick to react. Junior brother, are you alright? No reply. The Qilin leg had nothing living under its feet. He couldn't sense anything. Wu Qingqiu frowned, filled with worry. Was his incredible junior brother gone just like that, stomped into hereafter by an even freakier freak? This can't be. He refused to believe it. From what he knew about Yi Lin, he would not go down that easily. Zhuo Fan agreed, even if there was no sign of Yi Lin being alive underneath all that red. So he just kept adding pressure to the Qilin leg to cut off any means of escape. However, even as the crowd had yet to overcome their shock, an explosion came from under the Qilin leg. Golden flames flicked around it. Zhuo Fan felt his leg hurt, a searing heat that made him sweat buckets. However, he clenched his teeth and added more power in his leg to stop that punk from getting out. Not that it helped anyway. Zhuo Fan was giving all he had, yet the leg was rising like a volcanic eruption. A burst of fire came from beneath it. A shout of exertion came from within that inferno as the flames only grew in size, and the leg was pushed back. Soon, a man in golden flames appeared, using his arms to push the leg higher. Golden flames flitted all over his body, now covered in sharp dragon scales. That was no human, no matter how one looked at him, but a freak covered in scales. He was only missing a tail and horns, and he'd be a dragonborn. The audience gasped in shock. These freaks are freaks in bodies as well. No wonder the previous disciples were being finished off in seconds. These guys aren't humans. Zhuo Fan could feel the immense power lifting his Qilin leg, and his face sank. It was also very pale. I just knew the guy has a full transformation, unlike me. Maybe the Qilin leg comes from a sacred beast and can hold him back a bit, but it stands no chance against his full body tempering. I lost in melee. Zhuo Fan frowned and sighed, admitting that he stood no chance. With another shout, Yi Lin used all he had as he pushed the Qilin leg off him. Zhuo Fan staggered in the air. What shocked him more was that Yi Lin was now in his face in the blink of an eye. Zhuo Fan, you lost in close quarters even with that Qilin arm. You have no chance. Yi Lin came at Zhuo Fan like a savage dragon while cackling. Qilin has the greatest power among the 5 great sacred beasts. Today I surpass the Qilin, and you'll become my stepping stone to reach the Tao. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan shuddered and finally understood the meaning of this fated battle. At the end of this battle, one would go on higher and higher, to the peak of Tao, while the other would be cast in his shadow of defeat, finding it hard to even move on. In other words, the path forward would only get even harder for the loser. This battle, he had to win. Chapter 697, Soul Battle. Chapter 697, Soul Battle. Proofreader, Papatonks. Cultivating was going against the natural order, fighting adversity. As long as one had a staunch belief, he would be able to walk his own path. That did not apply to beast thought. There could be only one beast king. When two brutal beasts met, they had to fight for a winner. The winner was king, and the loser was banished. The 5 great sacred beasts had ruled the lands together, not because of their friendly ties or rank. It was because each excelled in something that was seen with pride and made them feel like kings. Thus no one could compare with another. However, if two beasts fought for hegemony, the loser would never be able to raise their head, forever in the other's shadow. This was savagery, and the winner was king. Humanity had followed this principle as well, but humans had some sayings: change was constant, and revenge was a dish best served cold. That was why, to the average onlooker, the fight between him and Yi Lin didn't have much significance. The loser would live as well and could win the next time a few years later. As long as one had a steel heart, he would get back on his feet. This, however, did not apply to them. They were sacred beast inheritors. The nature of beasts flowed through them. Their fight was actually a representation of decimating dragon ancestor versus soaring Chileen. If one side lost, it would never again be able to reach the other. This was the way of the beast, but they were humans as well. Though not quite crucial, the beast way more or less affected their beliefs. That was what the fated battle meant. The winner would have his horizon broadened by standing on the other's shoulders and would be much closer to Tao. The loser would be like a beast, being left with a shadow in his heart, shaking at the mere sight of the other, and would find his path incredibly hard to tread. Fan never thought much of it till now, only his heart pounding and telling him that he should fight. Now though, after hearing Yi Lin, he understood in this battle, they were betting their future. This only made it even more crucial he should not lose. He wasn't fighting for soaring Chileen's honor, only for his path, for no one to stand in his way. Fan's previous desolate heart was now rekindled with a burning fire. Seeing Yi Lin coming, his eyes squinted, and he swept the Chileen leg as he roared. If you think you're just going to stand on my shoulders, you have another thing coming. This fight will be my win. Humph, you didn't receive soaring Chileen's inheritance, did you? Why else would you be using a sacred beast's ability in such a crude way? You'll never get to beat me by using such half-assed method. Squinting, Yi Lin saw through him and faced the incoming Chileen leg, golden dragon tail, spatial rend. Roar. With the roar echoing across the skies, Yi Lin swept his leg, and the image of a golden dragon tail took shape as it whipped at the incoming leg. The golden flames appeared on it again and came down on the Chileen leg like a sickle. Bam. The heavy collision revealed the unexpected to the crowd. The unbeatable Chileen leg was flung aside by the tail swipe. A dark gash was left on the red leg, and fresh blood seeped out. Whoosh. With one last red flash, Fan's right hand was back to normal. In this clash, he was truly outmatched. Yi Lin's swipe had pushed him back. This had never happened before in Fan's life. The sacred beast Chileen leg had lost in strength. It was the only reason why it would revert to its original form. Startled, Fan was flung backward and found it hard to believe what he saw. Yi Lin is truly strong. He's just the decimating dragon ancestor's inheritor, so how can his strength? Is this the difference between a true inheritance and a meshed-up one? Frowning, Fan's face was heavy. Then he recalled the matter of Dan Qingshan. Looking around, he found he was flying right for demon scheming sect's disciples. This was a good chance, so he flicked his hand and let the thunder ring fly off his ring, looking as if Yi Lin's strike shook it off. The tiny ring glittered brightly as it fell behind the demon scheming sect's disciples, where the monitoring arrays were blind. The instant the ring touched the ground, a flash of light came out of it that was hidden by the disciples. Without the monitoring arrays, no one was the wiser when something came out. Even the exalted double dragons were entirely focused on Fan and not on the ring heavens. It even shook his ring off. Brother Zhuo has lost this melee. When Dao sighed and shook his head, Xie Tianshang felt somewhat disappointed. Next will be a battle of souls. Soul battle? When Dao sighed and said, Fan is a freak, but Yi Lin is freakier. Fan is only in the radiant stage, while Yi Lin is in the ethereal stage. Does he have any chance at all? Xie Tianshang was startled for a long time when Dao's eyes flashed, and he sighed. Ever since the fight started, Brother Zhuo rested his hopes on winning in melee. If he lost in close combat, that means it's only a matter of time before it ended. Xie Tianshang shook, looking at Zhuo Fan as he sighed. It wasn't just Sword God Sect, Hellion Flame and Demon Soul Sect were reaching the same conclusion. Chu Qingcheng couldn't sit still and stood up, staring intently at Zhuo Fan. Her eyes scrunched up in worry. When he showed that look, was it because he put all his confidence in melee? But when he discovered that the other has a much stronger body, he no longer had any hope of winning. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were filled with tears. He went all out knowing he had to do it, even knowing it didn't work. Sister Qingcheng, doesn't he have the strongest soul, Heaven Dragon Soul? He might still win. Dana tried cheering her up. Chu Qingcheng shook her head. If he could win with his soul, he would have done it from the start. Why drag it out? He must know the other's soul is far better than his, so he went for a close-quarter battle. But he got completely crushed. Hey, Xian Xiaoyu spoke with incredible joy. The girls glared at him, and Chu Qingcheng ignored him. She only had eyes for Zhuo Fan. You, who never faltered once, what are you going to do now? Chu Qingcheng was asking him and herself, trying to think of a way to help Zhuo Fan. That deep emotion only made Xian Xiaoyu's hatred burn hotter. The exalted double dragons stared intently at the fight, then shook their heads. It seems Zhuo Fan must know something about Yi Lin's soul that we don't. That's why he didn't go for a soul battle. Otherwise, just when he lost in melee, switching for a soul attack would have caught the adversary off guard. Exalted He Ran spoke. Exalted by my nodded. Now that melee is a dead end, and he's not going for a soul battle, the outcome is clear. There's no point in fighting now. Zhuo Fan has lost. All that's left is for him to admit it or fight to his last drop of energy. Exalted He Ran's eyes glinted, though I hope he'll fight till the very end. In the corner of the valley, Dan Qingshan slipped out of the ring and did not rush for the sacred weapon. He closely observed the fight, feeling his chin with his rough hand. Boy, the melee was but a test. Have you found all you need for the soul battle? I want to see if your meshed-up dragon soul can turn it around. I hope you won't let me down. Whoosh. Stopping himself from flying backward, he also spat blood. After wiping his mouth, his eyes took on a hard gaze. Zhuo Fan, your greatest asset, strength, has been trumped. Chilin's disciple had just lost to the decimating dragon ancestor's disciple. Admit your defeat. I'll take you under my wing as my right hand. With me, your path won't be so affected. We will both make our way to the sacred domain. Yi Lin flashed in front of him with a smile. After all, on this wide green earth, there's only us who are half human, half beast. Zhuo Fan snickered. The winner lords over the loser. For the loser to swear allegiance to the winner is the best path. So that the loser can attain Dao by following the winner. Otherwise, his path would be cut from the pain in his heart. It's good you realize it. Who had it, so we become sacred beast inheritors? To gain their power and inherit their path? So admit defeat. It's for your own good. Ha ha ha, sorry, I've gotten used to always calling the shots. Being the little guy doesn't suit me. Zhuo Fan sneered, his eyes flashed, and he roared, you won in close quarters, but I'll win in soul. The final victory will be mine. Chapter 698, Decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King. Chapter 698, Decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King. Proofreader, Papatonks. Soul battle? Raising an eyebrow, Yi Lin heard the biggest joke in his life as he cracked up. You've already compared your Heaven Dragon Soul with mine, haven't you? Yet you still want to fight the Heaven Dragon Soul of a dragon ancestor's disciple? Ha ha ha, how cocky can you get? If you still aren't clear on the 5 great sacred beasts' unique powers, I can enlighten you. Chilin has the best raw power but is the worst when it comes to anything else. The fact that you lost in melee means you lost it all. There's no hope for you to turn it around. So listen to my advice and give up. Holding his head high, Yi Lin shouted with resolution. Zhuo Fan knew it very clearly as well. But he was even more sure that his inheritance did not limit itself to Qilin. It was a jumbled-up array of skills from many great experts. While not a master in either of them, victory lay in their amount. Now that he fused them all, he could mold them any way he wanted. Maybe one such variation was the answer to this battle, just like how Danqing Shen put it. His second-rate dragon soul might win against the orthodox one while having no hope of winning. Zhuo Fan was far from losing also. He would have to see where this action took him, be it defeat or victory. Therefore, Zhuo Fan no longer wasted words. Sacred beasts are sacred beasts. We are humans. You're too naive if you think you can compare their fights with ours. Wraith Style's second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. Roar. With the roar, Zhuo Fan's Qilin arm flashed red, and a claw ripped through the air as it grabbed for Yi Lin Humph, pig-headed. Since one is a sacred beast inheritor, a master's power determines a disciple's power. The master's skill is the disciple's skill. No one in this world can surpass the 5 great sacred beasts. Your only hope of winning is by using the inherited Qilin's power. But now you no longer have that chance. Yi Lin's eyes flashed coldly. He jumped straight ahead as he coated his dragon claw in golden flames. 9 revolving golden dragon claw, Space Ripper, bam! A loud blast resulted from the impact, and they entered a deadlock. Then came the 2 dragons. Roar's 200 meters tall dragon souls came out of their bodies as they traced the skies. They glowed in a prismatic light, and their tail flicked at the space, almost cracking it before going against each other. Boom! Another explosion came. The 2 dragons set against each other, the noise covering the little valleys every corner and the mountain range around. Its ripple sent dust flying. As for the disciples of the 2 sects, the ripple sent them into the air, filling them with shock. They knew Zhuo Fan had a heaven dragon soul, but not that Yi Lin had one. Too. Wu Qingqiu's side was stunned. They had never seen Yi Lin's soul, and now that they did, they were stumped. Everyone knew that in the thousands of years of Western lands, only the exalted double dragons had such a soul. Since then, no one had gotten such a powerful soul. Now, however, it not only reappeared, but it came twice. Everyone looked shocked and more excited than ever. A clash between heaven dragon souls meant a clash between Western lands' strongest exalted. Not even they could imagine how it would look. However, today they would witness such a great fight. The delegates and even the exalted double dragons were eager to see this exciting fight. How come Yi Lin also has a heaven dragon soul? Blinking hard, exalted He Ran found it incredulous, giving a stiff nod. Exalted by my side, this is a truly rare soul. Seeing how a demonic and a righteous cultivator have the same heaven dragon soul is like I'm seeing us in the olden days. They're really like us back in the day. Exalted He Ran recovered from his shock and laughed. It's like these 2 were sent by Providence. They're like identical molds. Exalted by my smiled and nodded. Western lands will have a successor. Chu Qingcheng understood why Zhuo Fan did not take out his soul so soon. Yi Lin's soul was just like his, if not better. In this soul battle, Zhuo Fan looked to be at a disadvantage. Looking at the 2 heaven dragon souls fight, she saw that Yi Lin's was better, pushing back Zhuo Fan's. Chu Qingcheng was worried again. On the field of battle, the 2 were in a deadlock. Yi Lin looked up at the retreating dragon soul belonging to Zhuo Fan and snickered. I told you. When it comes to dragon souls, you're not my match. It's still in its base form, yet you're still losing ground. If I add the dragon ancestors' teachings, you'll finish. Humph, we'll just see about that. Zhuo Fan squinted and snorted. Variant, Almighty Scarlet Dragon King. With a draconic roar, Zhuo Fan's dragon soul shifted. It exploded in scarlet light, and its scales hardened like rocks, tougher than steel. Its fangs grew and turned savage. Its tail swished and whipped Yi Lin's dragon soul, causing Yi Lin to shudder. As his soul shook, he flew back from Zhuo Fan's punch. He was pushed back from the soul, and raw power combined. Demon scheming sect's disciples cheered, and so did the crowd. Only the 9 sects remained silent, staring at the screen with hard faces. Ultimate Clarity sect's disciples were confident. It was like they knew Yi Lin had no way of losing. The amateurs rave while the experts are aware. Only the 9 sects experts could see that before Zhuo Fan showed his variant, he was at a disadvantage. They all knew Yi Lin had yet to show his dragon soul's change. Zhuo Fan knew this as well. So after shaking him off, he quickly fell back. He wasn't after pressing his chance but wanted to get the opponent to take out all his cards. The one that showed all his moves was the one who was at a true disadvantage. Grinning, Yi Lin flew backward, saying in a casual tone, "Since you want to see the truest way to train your dragon soul, then feast your eyes." Ha ha ha. Variant, decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King. Widening his eyes, Yi Lin's eyes had a crazed look as he shouted Yi Lin's body and his dragon soul stopped. Golden flames rose from around the dragon soul, they pierced its body, and the prismatic glow soon died against the flames. Now the old dragon had turned into a brilliant golden and burning divine dragon. Its talons grew from within the scorching flames like a pyre, their sharpness glinting in the sun's rays. All could practically see anything turning to ribbons the instant they met those claws. Zhuofan stopped and stared at the golden dragon. He could feel it from there, the blistering heat coming from that huge dragon's flames. He knew the might of this creature, but after pondering, he made up his mind, making almighty Scarlet Dragon King charge head-on. In the end, knowing both sides' features was what got you victory. He had to figure out everything with the other hand up his sleeves. Seeing through Zhuofan's tactic, Yi Lin grinned and laughed. "You want to see the decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King's power that much? Suit yourself. Not like you have a choice in the matter, ha ha ha." Roar. As if to agree with Yi Lin, the golden dragon roared, surging up as it charged at the Scarlet Dragon. The clash was unlike the previous one, but one of life and death. This was Zhuofan's most dangerous moment of his second life. Bam! The almighty Scarlet Dragon King swished its tail and flung the golden dragon back. However, the golden dragon used its claw to sink it into the Scarlet Dragon at the same time. Right under Zhuofan's incredulous eyes, the searing flames entered the Scarlet Dragon, and it roared in pain. Its heavy bulk shook under pain. Zhuofan's face went red, and his mind was in pain as he spat sizzling blood. Chapter 699, Counterattack. Chapter 699, Counterattack. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ha ha ha, Zhuofan, see that? You lost faster comparing our dragon souls than our fist. Give up while you still can. The golden dragon was about to be flung away, but because its claw dug deep into the Scarlet Dragon, it stayed put. The golden dragon then coiled around the other one and tightened its hold. No matter how it thrashed around, the Scarlet Dragon could not break free. Let's not forget the golden flames cooking it from the inside out. Its only saving grace was the red glow around it shielding it somewhat, or it would have been burned alive. Despite that, the Scarlet Dragon kept wailing in pain due to its sizzling flesh. Zhuofan was shaking like a leaf from having his dragon soul subjected to such a cruel attack. He was pale and sweating buckets. Yi Lin laughed at Zhuofan's discomfort. "What more do you want? Your soul is clearly weaker. Taking it any further would mean the end of your soul and the end of you. So just give up." To add insult to injury, the golden dragon had received Yi Lin's order and opened its maw to breathe searing heat on the Scarlet Dragon. Zhuofan was now close to collapsing from how much he was shaking. He clenched his fists and gnashed his teeth. But his eyes held a most staunch gaze. The audience sighed. The soul battle is worse than the melee one. Trapped the moment the fight started. He knew his soul wasn't up to par, so he started with his fists. Yet not even fighting in melee proved helpful, having lost in the end. Now, being stubborn and unyielding, he had gone to fight with his soul. But power was everything, and he clearly couldn't win it, not even going all out worked. Zhuofan has no chance of making a comeback. Everyone wrote Zhuofan off as having lost. With his soul in the other's claws, what else could this be if not a loss? Only Chu Qingcheng kept staring at him with her pure eyes filled with hope. "Sister Qingcheng, it's done. Yi Lin is too strong. He lost." Dana did not know how to comfort her. However, Chu Qingcheng's gaze was firm. "I know he had no hopes for this battle, but as long as he did not give in himself, I still believe he will win. For sure." The girls watched her with a start, then they sighed. This is called blind faith. The exalted shook their heads, more and more amazed by Yi Lin. Who is this kid? His tempering of the Heaven Dragon Soul is so thorough. We used to think Zhuofan's version of Heaven Dragon Soul was better, but I never thought it possible for Yi Lin's to be even greater. I fear that not even our knowledge of it can compare. Exalted Hei Ran sighed in shock. Exalted by my had to admit. Yes, just like in a meeting of rivals, there's someone better. The same applies to heaven dragon souls. Yi Lin had followed the best path for his strengthening. I can hardly believe the heaven dragon soul could reach such a level of power. Just like they say, the new replaces the old. Old-timers like us. Exalted by my side, and exalted Hei Ran nodded. He sighed as he stood up, looking at the judge. Yi Lin won. Have them return. What? The judge jerked and sent the two exalted an incredulous look. In all the double dragon gatherings, the exalted had only been silent observers, being a symbol of fairness, not once interfering and always going by the rules. Only this time, even as plenty of time remained, the exalted wanted to cut it short and declare a winner. This never happened. Ever. The judge was dumbstruck. Exalted Hei Ran sighed. The outcome is obvious. Do you want to let it go on until one of them loses their life? The judge reacted at last and looked at the little valley. The exalted were afraid of losing Zhuofan, so they stepped in. Such an honor. In the eyes of the highest leaders, the life of a human was worthless. The double dragon gathering had had too many deaths than none could count, yet not once did they want to save one, except Zhuofan. Sigh, from now on, the exalted will have a favorite pupil. What honor. Sighing, the judge bowed to the exalted, then eyed the gatekeepers as he cleared his throat. He was just about to announce it. But then, creepy laughter came out before the judge, or the gatekeepers could act. The eerie laughter made one's spine tingle. It was the kind of voice a demon would make in the dead of night as it banged on your door. Hi, self-righteous punk, even arrogance has its limit. You want me to surrender? Humph, no dice. The creepy laughter came from Zhuofan, who was looking just as frail as before, but his eyes were sharp and clear. He had lost his previous stern look and was now looking positively insane. Is that all your decimating golden heaven dragon king can do? Then consider it my win. Variant, heaven-devouring demonic dragon king. Everyone, even Yi Lin, did not react as Zhuofan's dragon soul once again roared. The scarlet glow faded, its eyes closed, as if asleep, and when he opened them again, they were pitch black. The previous rampant aura of the scarlet dragon was lost as well, giving way for one of pure evil. Its pitch-black eyes only amplified the dread, feeling as if it sucked the very soul out of you. Its huge bulk was turning black as well, releasing unspeakable danger even as it was trapped. Yi Lin gaped. What the hell? How did it change colors? Even its aura is different. It's like I'm looking at a different soul. The exalted were frozen in place as well. Logic dictated that one's soul changed depending on one's cultivation methods and insights. Once it took the owner's characteristics, it could never change again. So why was this one doing it twice? First it was brutal and savage, but quite upstanding. Now it turned vicious and cruel, like the worst killer in history. For these two changes to appear on a single soul was beyond everyone's comprehension. The exalted themselves would vow such a weird thing had never happened. Not just them, but even Danqing Shun, who guided Zhuofan, had a goony look. Is this what the kid understood by soul variation? It's too damn weird. It's as freaky as him. Then again, just what is his cultivation method anyway? It brings together many aspects. Everyone went slack-jawed. Even the judge and the gatekeepers. Zhuofan ignored the obvious dumb looks and snickered. With all the intel gathered, it's time for me to counterattack. The huge black dragon roared and it caused everyone's scalp to tingle. Even Yi Lin's the black dragon flicked its tail, uncaring about the golden flames, and it was now its turn to wind around the golden dragon. It then opened its gaping mouth and sank its teeth into the golden dragon, forcing it to wail. Yi Lin's mind felt a sharp pain as his soul was damaged. As a reaction, the golden flames exploded like a huge volcano, wrapping around the black dragon. However, the black dragon was creepy like its owner. It did not fear them. Unlike the almighty Scarlet Dragon King, the dark aura around it absorbed the flames as they approached. Yi Lin was shocked beyond belief at this. What? That's dragon ancestors decimating golden flame. Even so, Zhuofan's cultivation method from the 9 Serenities Emperor, the demon transformation art, combined with the heaven dragon soul, resulted in heaven-devouring demonic dragon king, able to absorb anything and everything in existence. Yi Lin's decimating golden flame stood no chance against such a dragon soul. Yi Lin looked grave and gnashed his teeth. Is this Chilean's ability? Ha, what do you think? Zhuofan grinned. I told you, We're humans in the end. Sacred beast's path isn't completely useful to us. Do you still think you got what it takes to win against me in a soul battle? Yi Lin's brow shook as his eyes looked sharp. I misjudged you. You still added more tricks to your soul. In that case, allow me to show you the purest heaven dragon soul. Yi Lin's hands flashed through a series of signs, his eyes flickering with golden flames. Chapter 700, Vaulting Dragon King. Chapter 700, Vaulting Dragon King. Proofreader. Papatonks. A dragon is the strongest and toughest creature. Your demonic dragon is very weird and can handle my flames, but it's still too soft. Let me show you how a true dragon should be. With a shout, Yi Lin's signs came to an end. Reveal your brutality, decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King, scale shedding, roar. A brutal roar came from his dragon and it released a blinding golden light. As it shook, it threw off the demonic dragon. The demonic dragon had no chance to latch on again as the golden dragon's scales bristled and shot like tiny blades at the demonic dragon. Those scales contained scorching flames that could burn anything. Zhuo Fan's eyes narrowed and he had a very bad feeling. Without any hesitation, based on his double lives intuition, he had his soul move away. It proved to be too late as the scales fell from the golden dragon like rain, hitting the demonic dragon fully and sending its golden flames right into its body. The demonic dragon had no time to absorb them as they instantly detonated the violent power, and the searing flames left the demonic dragon to jerk from pain and torment. Zhuo Fan was also assaulted by the pain in his mind. Yi Lin snickered, getting his dragon free from the demonic dragon and ordering it to claw the other's skull, to attack it from two fronts. The pitch-black aura on the demonic dragon scattered from the explosions and its ears were deafened by it, making the claw that came take it by surprise. Grinning, Yi Lin saw his dragon clawing the demonic dragon's face as if he was slapping Zhuo Fan's. Ha ha ha, even if your dragon can handle my golden flames, it's too soft. A dragon should be strong and tough. That dragon you got by meshing up all kinds of sundries are no match for pure perfection. My dragon has you beat in power alone. You're no match to me, even in soul. Yi Lin had a crazed look in his eyes as he cackled. The audience saw Zhuo Fan just make a comeback yet was being pushed back the next second, burning his last hope. Exalted double dragons shook their heads. They were shocked by Zhuo Fan's tactic, but they had to admit Yi Lin's dragon soul was far more complete in its adaptation. Simply perfect. Zhuo Fan's scarlet dragon and demonic dragon each had their strong suit, but it had heaps of weaknesses as well. It was very easy for them to be routed and pushed back, unless the Exalted seemed to recall something and quickly denied it, like that will ever happen. A twice-altered soul is already miraculous enough, so how can two different forces? Moreover, they just don't fit. It's impossible. Zhuo Fan had given his all in this fight, but it still was not enough. If he could fuse those two variants, Sword God Sect Xie Tianshang said when Dao shook his head on the spot, that's downright impossible. I have no idea how that demonic dragon even came to be, but what is certain is that it is an extreme yin. Yin is soft, and virtue can restrain the golden flames just how our soft sword can handle attacks. However, that scarlet dragon is extremely brutal and hard. While yin and yang can engender each other, they can also repel one another. If these two dragons are united, it will become unlike anything in this world. Nothing could stop it. But if they clash, the result will only harm oneself. That's why Brother Zhuo's dragon soul can take both yin and yang forms. This is truly amazing in itself. If he were to fuse them, their engendering is still not enough. Even if he does, it might not be Yi Lin's match because he is still lacking. Still, Xie Tianshang raised an eyebrow when Dao spoke with a stern face. A dragon's brutality. A dragon is extremely strong and hard, but Yi Lin's dragon soul is also a flame dragon. Fire is very explosive and once attacked it would rain havoc. Brother Zhuo's dragon soul lacked in this department on both accounts. His attacks just don't make the cut while his defenses are still too weak to take those blows. As you saw from the scale shedding. However, as he was commenting on the fight, a roar came from within the screen that startled everyone. Zhuo Fan's dragon soul was shifting again, back to his scarlet form. It flashed its claws and stopped the golden dragon's attacks. With a roar of fury, It then smashed the other's head with a claw and threw it to the ground. Almighty Scarlet Dragon King was truly a king in terms of raw power. Not even the Golden Dragon could match it. As for hardness, he was among the best. The audience once again clamored in excitement. Zhuo Fan used the two variations to fight back, but then, the Golden Dragon twisted and flicked its tail, striking the Scarlet Dragon with its golden scales. The Scarlet Dragon whipped its own tail to protect its head. As the explosions echoed, it still wailed. Its tough scales were falling from the relentless assault, its power waning from the wounds. Xie Tianshang now understood what Wen Dao meant by brutal. Zhuo Fan's variations could not stop Yi Lin's scale shedding against such an explosive attack. Zhuo Fan could do nothing. The experts noticed it as well. Even with the two forms of Dragon Soul, Zhuo Fan could not get out of that impasse. Everyone lamented, and the Exalted gave the judge a look to get to it in calling it off. Shaking, Zhuo Fan bled from the mouth, but he did not mind it. He had the almighty Scarlet Dragon King turn back into heaven, devouring demonic Dragon King to absorb the remaining golden flames on its body. Finally breathing easier, he knew the two forms were not enough. Zhuo Fan, it's the end of the line for you. Your variations can't take my dragon. A second rate is a second rate. How can it ever match a perfect dragon soul? Ha ha ha. Yi Lin looked at Zhuo Fan with pride, filled with confidence. The golden dragon was shaking its tail as well, giving the black dragon a look of disdain. Zhuo Fan sneered. He never was one to take to others showing off, especially in his face. So he scratched his nose and said, "Brat, enough with the patronizing or you'll be sorry. It's not over until it's over. Still trying to fight the inevitable? Humph, it's your funeral. I'm being serious when I tell you that I haven't gone all out. Or you'd be dead. Hey, you're not the only one. When I go crazy I can't control myself." Zhuo Fan snickered. Yi Lin's face twitched. "Are you calling me lunatic? Humph, we'll just see who goes crazy first. Decimating golden flame is called decimating because it can burn the heavens. Proceed at your own risk. You might collapse the heavens by burning them, but I will hold them up. Ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan had a creepy grin. Yi Lin's brow twitched, finding it odd. What's got this punk so confident when his two dragon souls are useless? He didn't get to find an answer as Zhuo Fan's dragon soul turned into almighty Scarlet Dragon King as it soared higher and higher. Yi Lin mocked, "You're going up even as you're about to lose? This time you won't get to change your dragon soul. I won't let you." Scale shedding. His dragon sent golden scales like rain upon the Scarlet Dragon. Only this time, the Scarlet Dragon did not dodge and it was not releasing black energy to stop it either. Everyone was stunned. Was Zhuo Fan going to make the Scarlet Dragon face the scales head-on? That's suicide. It won't help you at all. But as the golden scales approached, the red glow on the Scarlet Dragon dimmed and its body was see-through. The huge dragon then lit up in an azure flame, engulfing its body. It went on like this, like an azure fire dragon soul variant, vaulting Dragon King. Zhuo Fan's hand made some new signs as he shouted. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.